Great Britain. We love its history, its culture and its tradition, and that's why we're so proud to be part of GB News.
You look genuinely emotional. Oh, come here.
GB News does pay attention to those who are ignored by the mainstream media. The majority of this country whose forefathers fought and died to maintain liberty, to fight for freedom of speech.
The rule of law, the rights of property and democracy. This is the heritage that our country should be so proud of.
Which of course includes our Christian heritage. There's been a huge resurgence in the number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit more akin to Britain's Christian heritage.
That's right, get ready, because the most exciting night in general election history starts now!
Good afternoon, Britain. It is 12 o'clock on Tuesday, the 18th of November. I'm Nana Akua.
And I'm Cameron Walker.
I can see that this issue is dividing people across our country. It is not an issue just of white people rejecting migration or asylum seekers. I see my own constituents deeply worried about the community tensions and a system that is out of control.
The Home Secretary tells GB News her plans to fix Britain's broken borders.
Now, that was just hours after she sensationally lashed out at left-wing MPs who criticised her overhaul of the asylum system.
Unfortunately, I am the one that is regularly called and told to go back home. It is I who knows through my personal experience and that of my constituents just how divisive the issue of asylum has become in our country.
Well, will the Home Secretary finally get a grip on the asylum system?
A shocking new report reveals 2/3 of adults granted refugee status after claiming asylum in the UK are on universal credit.
This budget, like the last one, will be an attack on aspiration, an attack on alarm clock Britain, an attack on those who get up in the morning.
Reform UK leader Nigel Farage unveils proposals to crack down on foreign nationals claiming universal credit as he slams Labour's budget as an attack on working people. Meanwhile,
it is wrong of him to deceive people, lie to them and make them think this is going to be easy. Government is difficult. That is what we learned. And we need parties in our country, not just Reform, but the Greens and the Lib Dems, to get a grip and start fixing the issues we have rather than living in la-la land.
Yes, Leader of the Opposition Kemi Badenoch predicts that Rachel Reeves will play the heroic victim of the autumn budget as she expects Labour to pull over their tax hikes in order to cover benefit spending.
and prostate cancer patients are set to benefit from cheaper drugs as part of an NHS drive to use more medicines. About 4,000 men with advanced prostate cancer may become eligible to use the drug abiraterone.
Is this the start of winter? That's the question. Large parts of the country are under a cold weather alert from snowfall on the cards potentially. We'll be joined by Alex Burkle from the Met Office.
And Bridget Jones, the statue, has been unveiled in London's Leicester Square. Renee Zellweger, who played the character for over 20 years, called the statue adorable.
That's interesting, Shabana Mahmood using all those words in the House of Commons. But
yes.
she got her point across. I know what she means. But I have said that about the EU and the Schengen zone and all of that. I think that because it's, free for all, anyone can go anywhere, and in the end you end up with resentment. And that's how racism begins, I think. And that's why controlled borders are a good way to keep the peace. That's why we do it.
Yeah, I think you could really tell that the Home Secretary was incredibly passionate and also incredibly annoyed with the Liberal Democrats, basically, not playing the victim, but, was really blaming her for these so-called racist policies.
They're annoying, aren't they?
Shabana Mahmood just snaps, essentially. And I think she used a word which we cannot repeat on television,
No,
but has only been used 28 times, I believe, leave in the House of Commons. She was reprimanded by the Deputy Speaker, but says, this is the reality that I face and others face every day, so you cannot be calling me racist. But of course...
Well, they're the ones... See, these liberal elites are the ones that are supposed to be standing in your corner telling you, oh, black people experience racism, you poor things, critical race theory, you are inferior, we are the oppressor, you must feel, you're a victim, we must help you. And actually, a lot of people are thinking, just leave us alone, get off, clear off, stop trying to make me the victim. And there are those who enjoy it because there are benefits being the victim. But what I think Shabana Mahmood demonstrated there was that very thing where you see the liberal elites behaving in some sort of sympathetic, empathetic way, but in a way it doesn't work because it's a superiority complex, actually. That's what I think.
And I think there has been some polling out which shows that migrants who've come to the UK legally are actually also worried about illegal migration. So it's not the perception that migrants aren't worried about migration is for the birds. Really,
I mean, exactly, because I was born in Newcastle, as you all know. I'm a Geordie, Motorola,
You're a Geordie?
Did you not know that?
No, I didn't know that. You don't have the accent.
In Newcastle.
Oh, right, OK.
Because I moved to Essex after that. But,
OK, that might have something to do with it.
So I'm a Geordie, and to be honest, I haven't noticed any difference. People don't say anything or they don't dare say anything to me. But I just think I can see, you know, my mother is furious about the people coming on the boats. She was, those people are on the boats. Oh, she gets so angry because when they came here, they had to reach certain criteria. They had to have a certain amount of money. They had to have education if they were doing that, going to it, and all that kind of thing. They had to have a sponsor. They used that old-fashioned thing called a visa. They didn't come here via the boats or anything like that. So that really sticks in her craw.
And crucially, integration. But let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. Now, here is the news with Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. Just after midday, well, the top story this hour, the Home Secretary is standing firm after unveiling one of the toughest asylum shake-ups in decades. Shabana Mahmood says she will get her reforms through Parliament. That's despite anger from Labour's left and unexpected backing from the Conservatives. Her plan brings in 20-year waits for permanent residency, tougher and faster removals, new visa bans and an end to guaranteed financial support. The critics warn the package is dystopian and inhumane. Well, speaking earlier at a press conference, Nigel Farage claimed the government is just copying Reform UK and said Labour is now panicking about losing voters.
Frankly, I don't actually think that most of what she said will make any difference at all. And as for the gimmick, you know, we're going to take away people's watches and earrings, and I mean, this is just never going to happen. And rhetorically, fine, following very many of the things that we've been saying for some years, but in practice, I doubt much of it will actually happen.
But Shabana Mahmood insists it's a package that will restore order and control at the border.
There are some people in politics today who think you can either ignore the problem and just assert that it's not there and that somehow it's made up, it's misinformation, fake news, and if you just don't talk about it, it will somehow go away. There are others who will speak the language of inclusion and support for diversity, which I also agree with, but who will then not look to any solutions for the problems that we face. So they will shut down any possible solution and then therefore they are hypocrites because they have nothing else to offer.
Well, let's just bring you an update breaking in the last few minutes in Westminster regarding the ongoing threat from China. MI5 reportedly issuing a fresh and an urgent warning to MPs and staff in Westminster. They say Chinese intelligence is continuing and renewing its attempt to recruit and gather information through, they say, professional headhunters. A security message sent to Parliament that we have seen here at GB News says that agents linked to China's Ministry of State Security have been actively approaching MPs and researchers on LinkedIn, using recruitment consultants and fake profiles to build up long-term relationships. 2 individuals have been named as carrying out that large-scale research on Beijing's behalf. They are also, MI5, that is, warning that other similar profiles are active and operating as espionage fronts. So parliamentarians being told that that activity is targeted, is widespread and ongoing, and therefore to be alert following following that fresh warning from MI5. We'll have plenty more on that with Cameron and Nana later this hour. Returning, though, to politics, and the storm is brewing over the Chancellor's next budget as Rachel Reeves comes under fire from both Reform UK and the Conservatives today. Opponents accuse her of planning stealth tax rises to plug a multi-billion-pound budget shortfall, while Labour says the Tories have barefaced cheek after they crashed the economy and left a £22 billion gap behind. But the pressure is mounting. Kemi Badenoch says Sir Keir Starmer needs a reality check, urging all parties to face up to the scale of the problem.
It's wrong of him to deceive people, lie to them and make them think this is going to be easy. Government is difficult. That is what we learned. And we need parties in our country, not just Reform, but the Greens and the Lib Dems, to get a grip and start fixing the issues we have rather than living in la-la land.
The competition watchdog has launched a sweeping investigation into some of the UK's biggest brands, from StubHub to AA Driving School, Gold's Gym and Wayfair, all over concerns about misleading online pricing. The CMA says these are the first cases under its new consumer protection powers after reviews flagged tactics like hidden fees and pressured sales. It's also written to up to 100 other companies across 14 sectors, warning them to clean up their practices. The watchdog's chief says the price that shoppers see should be the price they pay. The UK's migration picture has been sharply redrawn this morning. Data confirming the peak was bigger than first thought and the fall then much steeper. New ONS figures show the peak rose to 944,000 in early 2023. That's not the 906,000 previously published. Then, by the end of 2024, net migration had fallen to 345,000, far lower than the 431,000 originally estimated. The shift comes after experts overhauled how they track movement, replacing an older border survey with detailed national insurance records. Officials say that updated system now gives them the clearest picture yet of who is arriving and who's heading out. And, of course, it wouldn't be a news bulletin without a bit of weather for you. So the UK, well, its first real cold snap of the season has arrived, with temperatures plunging towards freezing overnight. Snow even now possible across much of the country. Arctic air pushed cities from Newcastle to York, even down in Southampton, down to 1 degree in the early hours. Multiple yellow weather warnings for snow and ice are in force across Scotland and northern England right through until Thursday, while an amber cold health alert covers the northeast, northwest and Yorkshire. Forecasters say sleet, snow and dangerous icy patches are likely today, especially in eastern Scotland and the east of England, with a sharper wind chill making it feel even colder. But conditions thankfully expected to ease by the weekend as milder air returns. Those are the headlines just after midday. I'll be back with you in half an hour. Next, though, a look at the markets.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GBNews Financial Report.
11 minutes past 12, the markets for you. The pound will buy you $1.3144 and €1.1348. The price of gold is £3,080.64. That's per ounce. And the FTSE 100 is at 9,556 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GBNews Financial Report.
Hello, good afternoon, Britain. Now, I've got a new word for you, Cameron.
I'm nervous, Nana. What is this new word you're talking about?
It's parasocial.
Parasocial?
Yes.
What does that mean?
What do you think it means?
Parasocial. I don't know. Extra social? I don't know.
It means, you know when you see somebody that's really famous?
Yes.
And you think you know them, and then you sort of talk to them or behave towards them as though you know them. So my parasocial person would be, I'd say it's Princess Kate. Because I feel like, you know, if I saw her, I'd act like I knew her, but then she doesn't really know me at all.
Oh, I see. So it's like you don't...
Like you're not Taylor Swift. It could be like, not Taylor Swift.
Exactly.
Taylor Swift until I can't bear her. She can't sing.
Any celebrity. I get what you mean.
Know what I mean.
Yes, I do exactly know what you mean. OK, any member of the royal family for me, perhaps. Okay. We'll see. Let us know if you've got a parasocial. gbnews.com/your save. The time is 12 minutes past 12. And we start with the fallouts from Shabana Mahmood's major asylum crackdown.
Yes, more than 20 Labour MPs have publicly criticised her plans, which are aimed at deterring migrants from seeking asylum in this country. And, of course, making it easier to remove people with no right to be here.
And the Home Secretary hit out at critics in the Commons yesterday. And here's what she said to GB News' political editor, Chris Hope.
So the concern about migration is something that is shared by British people of every background,
of all race,
every ethnicity in this country. And I think that that should be acknowledged, because you have to acknowledge what people are thinking. It's wrong to say people feel that way when it's actually true. They are responding to facts. They can see a broken system because the system is in fact broken. The pace and scale of change that we have seen has put communities under pressure. And I think it is the job of politicians, mainstream politicians, to come up with answers to the problems that the public rightly see are happening in this country. And there are some people in politics today who think you can either ignore the problem and just assert that it's not there and that somehow it's made up, it's misinformation, fake news, and if you just don't talk about it, it will somehow go away. There are others who will speak the language of inclusion and support for diversity, which I also agree with, but who will then not look to any solutions for the problems that we face. So they will shut down any possible solution and then therefore they are hypocrites because they have nothing else to offer. What I am offering is a genuine set of proposals that can fix the broken system that we have and retain public consent for us having an asylum system at all. That is the way that I think sensible mainstream politicians should approach these issues, because we can see the problems they're causing in our communities and it's our job to fix it. Judge me on delivery. I want to get those boat crossings down. I'm not going to set arbitrary
But they will
numbers.
fall next year.
I want to see them fall, of course I do, as we implement these reforms. I would say to your viewers and to people across the country, judge us on the totality of the reforms once they're being implemented. I believe the combination of these reforms and our law enforcement activity can fix this problem and can bring those numbers down.
If they don't work, you'll go further. You pull back from ECHR withdrawal, which of course is what Reform and the Tories are doing. Other ideas you could push too?
Well, look, I will always, of course, keep under review whether these measures are working as they should, but we've announced the set of proposals today. Yeah. We've now got to consult and bring forward legislation. That will be the next stage, and then we've got to crack on with delivery as well.
GBNews viewers watching this, listening to this, will be frustrated. You're not saying numbers will come down. You hope they will. You can't say it.
Look, I know it's a low trust environment, right? I know that people will say that we've heard all of this before. I get that. I know there's a lot of cynicism. That it's justified. So I'm not telling your viewers that they are wrong to feel or think as they do. Just judge us on our record.
Right, that was Shabana Mahmood with Christopher Hope. Well, we're joined now by Labour councillor Stuart Fawcett. Stuart, so do you feel that Shabana Mahmood has gone far enough, or are you like many of us, and Nigel Farage did allude to this, that despite all of that, it sounds wonderful, but you're still in the ECHR, even the Danish are having the issue with people now using Article 3 in the ECHR to try and stay?
I look at Shabana Mahmood's record so far as Home Secretary in the 73 days that she's been there. Within a few weeks, she'd already had the largest crackdown on illegal workers in UK history. And these reforms actually go a long way to tackling the issue, including measures to actually smash the gangs. So what we do know at the minute is that small boats arrivals are around about 2%. Sometimes in a snapshot it's slightly higher because of where it is, but they're accounting for up to 40% of asylum claims. Now, the other 60% are through measures such as other irregular arrivals, illegal arrivals, but also those who are claiming it through tenuous family links, which she's already gone on to address there. But just talking about these measures that she's bringing in, I think this is finally a fair system that people can start to put their trust in again with the measures that are now being introduced with the bill. Because since we've had Brexit, what we've seen is the number of small boats going from tiny negligible numbers to absolutely skyrocketing because of the deal that we'd had there. So asylum claims have gone from around about 30,000 to over 100,000 a year in the last year. So that meant that that system has been completely blown out of the water. The stress on that system has reached levels that we just cannot afford. It really is costing us an arm and a leg. And for that reason, people are seeing that this is a fundamentally unfair system when they look at this. People who arrive, who have flouted the rules to get here, and then they see the cost that these people are causing on our economy. And I think it's really... I think it's more than fair to point out that people are not anti-refugee, and these measures aren't necessarily anti-refugee. What they are is about fairness.
And yet, her own backbenchers are, some of them at least 20 have gone on the record to basically essentially call this policy racist and will be voting it down, to the point where the Home Secretary may need to call on Kemi Badenoch, leader of the opposition, to give cross-party support. So, you know, Home Secretary could be facing a massive backbench rebellion on this.
Well, I think 20 is quite a small proportion out of 400. That's quite small.
Who have come on the record so far.
Of course, but that's a very easy ideological position to take when the Home Secretary is charged with finding a solution that the nation has to find now. We are not in a situation where orthodoxy in leadership can restore trust in a system that in people's minds is broken beyond a point where they are comfortable
Why
with it.
did she, in a sense, almost reject Kemi Badenoch's offer to work alongside them? I thought it was quite a genuine offer, and I don't quite get that, because Kemi is saying, well, we'll work with you and we'll work together. Because to me, as a viewer or as a listener, I'm thinking, well, why on earth wouldn't you? And Kemi said in the national interest, which is what they're there to represent.
I think the Home
Why did
Secretary's...
she refuse?
I can't speculate on why that might be from the Home Secretary's point of view. I do think the Home Secretary is taking these policy moves in the national interest.
But then why would she reject an offer of support from somebody just because they're from the opposition? It just, again, this smacks to me the sort of, oh, we'll just do whatever, we'll go against you, because it's like, look, we can't play politics here. This is the British, this is our nation, and we need to protect it, and they need to work together.
I think there is always a case for cross-party working, and that has happened historically. However, I can see caution in her approach there, given the situation where their policies have led up to. And I talked about that Brexit deal that the Conservatives had negotiated, and that deal could have enabled greater sovereignty in our asylum and refugee system, alongside that of our future immigration system. And actually, the product of that is where we are today. So I could understand caution from her perspective in accepting help. I
wouldn't blame it all on Brexit. I think that's a bit wrong, Stuart.
No, not at all.
There's obviously some work.
I think it's not Brexit, it's the Brexit deal that we ended up with.
The deal was terrible.
Absolutely. I mean, I voted to leave the European Union,
the deal was terrible.
and I was absolutely, completely gutted about the deal that we got, and it has now led us to the numbers that we just seem to keep talking about.
Well, I think it's partly Brexit, but there's other factors. Stuart Fawcett, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good to talk to you.
Now, some breaking news coming into you now. MPs and parliamentarians have been warned of new attempts to spy on them by China.
Well, we're joined now in the studio by GBNews' Home and Security editor, Mark White, to tell us more. Mark, what can you tell us?
Well, this has come in the form of a letter, actually, from the Commons Speaker, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, and his counterpart in the Lords, warning of renewed activity from China with a view to recruiting individuals that would be involved in trying to further relations with those in Parliament. So this has gone out. It's come from MI5 originally and now being passed on to parliamentarians. I've got a copy of the letter that Sir Lindsay Hoyle wrote to these parliamentarians. It's worth just reading this out to you. He said, "I'm writing to you now to draw your attention to the attached espionage alert issued by the security service MI5 to the parliamentary community." It says, "This alert highlights how the Chinese Ministry of State is actively reaching out to individuals in our community. Their aim is to collect information and lay the groundwork for long-term relationships using professional networking sites, recruitment agents and consultants acting on their behalf." The alert from MI5 named 2 recruitment headhunters who are known to be using LinkedIn. More details on that might come out a little later. We're expecting the Security Minister, Dan Jarvis, to make a statement in the Commons at 12:30 today. Listen, the backdrop to this is the fact that there is increased activity from state actors. It's something that MI5 are grappling with. I was at a speech by the Director General just a couple of months back of MI5, in which he said the state actor threat is growing. It's taking up more and more in terms of the the casework that his officers are having to do. And China, of course, is among them. Russia, China, Iran are the key state actors that they are most concerned about in this country. And of course, many people, I'm sure, will remember in September the collapse of a criminal case against 2 men accused of spying for the Chinese state. That was over issues, we're told, of a reluctance on behalf of the government to designate China as a security threat. And there was an almighty row about that. It's never satisfactorily been concluded, I don't think. But listen, there are threats out there from state actors, and this is a reminder that however they're designated by this government, they are absolutely seen by those that are tasked with keeping this country safe as a threat.
All right, Mark White, thank you very much.
Well, we're joined now by the security lead, Inter-Parliamentary Alliance on China, Cheng Kwong. Chung, good morning, good afternoon even to you. Why has this warning come now, and what is the danger for ordinary British citizens watching and listening at home?
I'd say the reason why this warning came right now, I think, is because there's a raised awareness of Chinese-linked threats to this country. It's not the first time that people are found to be using job recruiting social media platforms as a tool for the MSS in China to gather information, to reach out to interested person and make them an asset for the Chinese state. But I think simply, and then I've heard that the intelligence community has been frustrated about this for years, but now that there seems to be more awareness after the alleged spy cases collapsed, I think it's a good time to have this warning. And for everybody who is at home watching this right now, this is not something that's only about Westminster Circle or people who are close to the government. It also happens to you because you might work in a company that is of interest in the Chinese state. If you work in critical industries like steel production and other things, if you have a social media profile, what you posted is actually intelligence for the Chinese state. If they're interested in that particular industry, if they're interested in certain IPs, then they probably want to gather more information to know how do they get hold of those information, how do they utilize it. So it's not a thing that's only about official civil servants or people working in the Westminster Circle.
All right, Cheng Kwong, thank you very much. Really good to talk to you.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show after the break.
After the break, the Tories and Reform UK have hit back against Labour's budget plans, with the leader of the opposition accusing Labour of a stealth tax bombshell.
All of that and much more coming up. You're watching GB News, Britain's news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breast cancer is the most common cancer in the UK, and over a lifetime, 1 in 8 women will develop breast cancer. It's mostly affecting women over 50. As you mentioned before, it does affect a small proportion of men, less than 1%, but still there is a potential risk. The good news is, if caught early, survival is excellent due to improved treatments and new drugs. So 99% of women and men survive for more than 5 years if caught early. And overall, the breast cancer survival rate is about 85%, which is fantastic. It's important to know that you have to check. Women have to learn to check their breasts. So if you notice anything different, dimpling, change in shape, a lump, go and get it checked out. Even though survival rates are much improved, we do have less survival here compared to other countries. So, for example, in America, 90% of women will survive over 10 years if they're with breast cancer. So it is important to get checked out just as soon as you notice any changes whatsoever.
Why is there that difference, Lucy, between, say, us and America, for example?
Well, the UK lags behind generally in cancer survival, 10 to 25 years, they estimate, over a range of cancers. That includes prostate, ovarian, lung, breast, and bowel cancer. And there could be a number of reasons, but I think part of the problem, the NHS, is great when you get to the front of the queue, isn't it? But it's actually getting there.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Now, Reform UK's latest press conference saw Nigel Farage back Shabana Mahmood's asylum crackdown plans, as he emphasised that he rhetorically agrees with the Home Secretary.
Yes, the Reform UK leader also unveiled his plan to fill a £25 billion hole in the budget. Have a listen to what Reform's chairman, Zia Youssef, had to say.
The state should no longer pay universal credit payments to foreign nationals. The bill for that will be, in terms of how much that would foreign nationals are taking from universal credit, is £8 billion this year. We have assumed a 3-month notice period to be reasonable, and therefore if Rachel Reeves were to enact that policy, that would be £6 billion of savings this year.
Well, meanwhile, at the Conservative Party conference, Kemi Badenoch accused Labour of plotting a stealth tax bombshell to fund welfare payments.
Well, joining us now is the Associate Editor of the Daily Sceptic, Laurie Wastell. Laurie, good afternoon to you. Let's start off, first of all, with Reform UK's plan to plug this £25 billion black hole, as they call it. They talked about ending benefits for EU settled status holders, but of course that was a negotiation from the EU-UK withdrawal agreement. So would that then have to be renegotiated if Reform got into power, which clearly would be quite difficult for them?
I think that there is a possibility they would have to open something with the EU, perhaps, but equally the fact is that having done Brexit, we do actually have those powers to make these decisions ourselves, and I think that is the key point there. And I think broadly what Reform are trying to do here, quite rightly, is of course we've been having the conversation about Shabana Mahmood's reforms to the asylum system and to illegal migration this week, which are no doubt important, and a lot of the questions in that press conference were about that. But of course, the key issue fiscally and for the economy actually is legal migration. And as we know, the Boris wave has allowed an enormous amount of immigration into Britain over the past 4 or 5 years, and the vast majority of that, unfortunately, is not going to be a net tax contribution. In particular, there's low-skilled visas for health and social care and other things like this. We know, for instance, that you need to be earning at about £40,000 to £45,000 to actually be a net tax contributor. The vast majority of those will not be doing that, and therefore, if we fail to look at this economic element to legal migration, then that's really missing a trick.
Interesting as well, one of the things that Nigel Farage also said, because of course you had that time when Sir Keir Starmer said that when he heard the sort of rundown of what Reform UK's policies were, he said to Lauren Koonsberg that he believes it's a racist policy. Yet Shabana Mahmood was talking about confiscating jewellery up to the value of about, if they've got at least £1,000 worth of assets and so on and so forth. I mean, could you imagine, as Nigel pointed out, if that had come from Reform UK?
Quite right. And there is almost a sense that some of this may be a little performative. I mean, you might be, in many ways, Shabana Mahmood might be pleased at the backlash she has been receiving from some of her own MPs, because this makes her policy seem tougher than perhaps it is. Because, for instance, that question of whether we would be able to charge and remove jewellery from these asylum seekers coming in, or really economic migrants, as many of them are, she has declined to leave the ECHR, of course, and there will be tremendous questions over whether that would actually be legal. So it makes a great noise there, but actually whether this would happen is another question. And as she told Christopher Hope earlier, the question is, will she be able to deliver? And that's really what voters will be thinking about, rather than the sort of sound and fury that we've rather seen this week.
Yeah.
Yes, I certainly don't see many of the small boat migrants with Rolex watches coming across the channel.
Well, and as Yusuf said, you're not going to get 50 cents and what's his name, Lil Wayne coming across on a dinghy. Thank you very much, Laurie. Really good to talk to you. That's Laurie Mostel. He's an associate editor for the Daily Skeptic.
Right, the time is 12:33. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, while all eyes were on Shabana Mahmood and her asylum crackdown yesterday, it's been revealed that 2/3 of adults granted refugee status are claiming asylum in the UK. They are on universal credit. Get that.
All of that and much more after your latest news headlines with Sam.
Very good afternoon to you. 12:33. Well, MI5 has issued an urgent China espionage alert. Parliament's been warned that Chinese intelligence is using professional headhunters on LinkedIn to target MPs and their staff. The security briefing names 2 individuals accused of large-scale outreach on behalf of Beijing. And MI5 says other fake profiles are still active online. MPs are being told the activity is targeted, widespread and ongoing. The Home Secretary is standing firm on one of the toughest asylum shake-ups in decades. Shabana Mahmood plans bring 20-year waits for residency, faster removals, visa bans and an end to guaranteed financial support. Critics, though, call it dystopian, with Nigel Farage claiming Labour is copying Reform UK. A political storm's already swirling around the Chancellor's next budget. Rachel Reeves is facing fire from Reform and the Tories, accused of plotting a stealth tax rise to fill £22 billion in financial gaps. Labour says the Conservatives have barefaced cheek after they crashed the economy, but Kemi Badenoch says Sir Keir Starmer is the one that needs a reality check. The UK's migration picture has been sharply rewritten today. New ONS figures show the peak hit 944,000 in early 2023, higher than first reported, before plunging to 345,000 by the end of 2024. Officials say a new tracking system using national insurance data gave the clearest picture yet of who's coming in and who's leaving. And the competition watchdog has launched a clean-up of major UK brands. StubHub, AA Driving School, Gold's Gym and Wayfair are among those under investigation for misleading online pricing. The CMA has also warned 100 more firms to clean up tactics like hidden fees, saying the price shoppers see should be the price they pay. Those are the headlines for now. A full roundup with your news at 1.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Hello again, this is your GB News weather forecast coming to you from the Met Office. The cold thing continues for the next few days, but with that there will be some rain around and also, unsurprisingly, a bit of snow and a bit of ice. There's an area of low pressure currently making its way southwards across Scotland into England as well, and that's the driving force for outbreaks of rain. Many places likely to see some wet weather at times through today, albeit across the far southeast of England, staying largely dry through daylight hours at least. With that rain and the cold air, yes, there will be some sleet and snow around, perhaps to lower levels over parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, it just looks like it will be over higher ground. Temperatures are on the low side, markedly lower than they have been recently, near normal towards the south, a few degrees below across northern parts. As we go into this evening, still more snow likely across the highlands of Scotland and any modest higher ground over northern and eastern parts of Scotland in particular. Some showers piling into the north and the west of Scotland, and some of these could be falling as sleet, maybe a bit of hail mixed in. A few showers across parts of Northern Ireland and showery bursts of rain across much of England and Wales as well. Some of these could be a little bit on the heavy side and there could be some winteriness, some sleet, some snow over modest high ground as well. As we go through the night, the showery rain, sleet and hill snow will push its way southwards and eventually start to clear away, but it is looking a bit wet at times across some central southern areas, with drier, clearer weather developing across parts of Scotland in particular, and where we get those clear skies. Temperatures plummeting, widely falling below freezing. Rural spots could get into negative double figures. So tomorrow gets off to a bit of a wet start across some south-southeastern parts, but that rain clears away. And then there's actually a lot of fine sunny weather to be had. That being said, areas exposed to that brisk northerly Arctic air will see more showers, which could be wintry across parts of northern Scotland and also down the east and the west of the UK. Temperatures, if anything, lower than today.
Thank you so much for helping us to reach 8 million followers and subscribers across our social media channels. That's 8 million fearless Brits standing up for what really matters.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. On the A77 at Cairnryan, movement is restricted due to a stalled heavy goods vehicle. In Bolton, a collision on the M61 southbound between Junction 8 and Junction 6 has closed one of 3 lanes. In Wiltshire, a vehicle failure on the A303 eastbound at the A360 junction closes one of 2 lanes. Congestion in Kent on the A20 eastbound between the A260 and A256 junctions causes 10-minute delays. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast faces delays between Liverpool South Parkway and Crewe, while cross-country services are disrupted between Reading and Didcot Parkway. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It is 39 minutes after midday. Good afternoon, Britain. Now, whilst all eyes are on Shabana Mahmood and her asylum crackdown yesterday, a shocking report was published.
Yes, it's been claimed by the respected Migration Observatory that 2/3 of adults granted refugee status after claiming asylum in the UK are on, get this, universal credit.
Yes, benefits. Well, we're joined by human rights lawyer David Haig. David, so do we know roughly how much that's costing us if 2/3 of them are on benefits? And how is it they qualify for benefits? Don't they have to go out and work? Or if you've been granted asylum, now you can partake in British life, you can get a job, can't you?
Good afternoon to you both. I mean, effectively, the figure doesn't surprise me. I'm surprised it's not higher. I think, once you grant, so when someone comes across the channel, let's take an example, and they apply for asylum, at that point they get a small subsistence allowance, they get to put up in a hotel if they're destitute. We all know that story. Once they are granted asylum, they become an actual refugee, then they effectively have pretty much the same rights as people in England to things like benefits, so they can claim benefits as obviously universal credit.
David, this appears to, a majority of this 66% figure, 2/3 roughly, appears to apply to those who have settled in the last kind of 5 years. In other words, they're vulnerable to those early stage vulnerabilities, language barriers and the rest of it. So is there, in principle, therefore, a point where those who've been here a couple of years, if having been granted status, could potentially come off universal credit because they've got a job and are now integrated into society?
Shouldn't be allowed on it to begin with.
I think there is. I think you've got. When you obviously see what Shabana Mahmood said yesterday, I think you've got to really look into these things in detail, because are we integrating if we're letting people in and giving them refugee status? Are we integrating them? Are we making sure they can speak English? Are we making sure they're able to do the right thing? So has any of that been done as well as it could be? So this is happening. So we need to deal, with the consequences. And in my experience, I don't see that happening. I see people coming giving refugee status, and not all the time, but a great many of the time, in pockets, staying in their communities, often not being able to speak English, and that makes it more difficult for them to get jobs. So I think we need to, Shabana Mahmood set out a lot of proposals yesterday, some of them very good. And the good thing about what she said, I think, is that they are more medium to long-term proposals, which is what we've always need to do. And this is something that we need to look at as well. Are we doing everything we can? Of course, we only need to give asylum to the genuine asylum seekers. That's the first big thing that we need to do. And then that will tackle this as well, I think.
Because it just, I just sort of feel quite annoyed, because I know obviously people are abusing the system. And so half of me thinks, well, when you're given refugee status, there should be, you need to go and get a job, really, and there shouldn't be benefits. But I guess that would then appear unfair. I think you should, over time, start to earn benefits. Do you know what I mean? So you're granted refugee status, you then get a job. You can be supported maybe for 6 weeks, but you've got to find a job. That job must support you. You need to contribute into the taxpayer's purse before you can start taking. Otherwise, you're a net drain.
I think I agree with you to some extent, Nana. I think we should have a system in place where when they are genuine asylum seekers are granted asylum and their refugee status, that they're entitled to relevant benefits for a certain period of time if they're destitute. Because if they don't get those benefits, they're going to be living on the streets. You might have crime rise, homelessness, and those are all consequences. So we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can as a country, I think, to stop that. But equally, I think there needs to be an end point, because much like if you're a British person, you're trying to get back into the workforce, it should be something similar. And I think that that's something that is often overlooked in asylum policy.
Do you think that this figure, the two-thirds are on universal credit of migrants, just adds to this whole idea that if you come across to the United Kingdom on a small boat, you have this golden ticket. You've got this massive pull factor to make the dangerous journey across to the Channel because you are going to have a good life in the UK at the expense of the British public. For example, by the latest estimates, there's more than 2,000 veterans who are homeless, and yet we put asylum seekers in hotels, which really grates with the British public.
Don't get me started on that.
I think so with asylum, the economic migrants, not calling them asylum seekers, of course that's a pull factor. If you're in a country where, that type of money is an awful lot for you in that country, you are going to take that risk and come here. A lot of people will, the economic migrants, they will do that. And I think, you perfectly understand why everyone in Britain is up in arms about that. But we haven't tackled it properly before with the various governments. They haven't put medium to long-term plans in place. We see a few with Shabana Mahmood, so that's good. I think some of them will fail, some of them may work. But, it is a broken system and it needs complete overhaul.
What about, because part of the proposal was that migrants who break the law will be barred from support. So if we have somebody who we're supporting, they should be barred from that. Can they actually do that? Because there'll be some way of appealing something, or because you know how everything is, these people get around everything.
All those types of things, and a lot of what Shabana Mahmood mentioned, I hate to say, in her speech yesterday, will get stopped by lawyers, will get stuck in courts. If you and like I said, you have consequences. So if you say, for instance, an asylum seeker or a refugee breaks the law, and then we stop their ability to get a hotel or funding for universal credit, what then happens to that person if they're stuck here? They can't go back. Does it push the crime wave up? I think that's why we need to have people that are experts, and there's not that many in the Home Office, sadly, that sit down and actually try and work out all these proposals, what the consequences are, and how we fix it medium to long term.
All right, and very, very quickly, because we're running out of time. And then she said only one appeal allowed. So they'll bunch up all the appeals in one, and then they can do just one thing. And if that's denied, then there's no more appealing. Can that actually be done again?
You would need to change the law, the existing law, and I think you would struggle with the ECHR on that. So yes, you can do. We can do anything as the Parliament legislature here, but what happens when it gets taken up, which it will do, to the ECHR? It will get. I imagine on that case it will get stopped. That's the problem. We can change as many laws as we want. It's what happens because we have the ECHR above it, and until we actually have proper reform of that, as I've said before, I still think we're going to have these problems.
All right, thank you very much, David Hay. He's a human rights lawyer.
Thank you. Well, we contacted the Home Office for their response to this story, and they pointed out that the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, announced a number of new measures aimed at addressing the migrant crisis yesterday, which, of course, we discussed extensively earlier this hour.
All right, well, this is Good Afternoon Britain. If you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's going to be an unsettled week across eastern parts of the Mediterranean with intense thundery rain by the weekend. Further west, it's drier, but there will be some rain around northern coastal parts of Spain, also pushing into parts of Portugal and West Spain as well. Also some rain across southern Italy, but it's further east affecting Greece, Albania, Croatia and other nearby nations. This is where we're going to have the heaviest, most thundery rain, particularly as we go Friday and into Saturday. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. The time is 12:50 and a new statue celebrating the legendary Bridget Jones has been unveiled in London's Leicester Square.
Oh, it's great. I love those films. Renée Zellweger, who has played the character for over 20 years, called the statue adorable, adding, I think she's much cuter than me.
That is so cool. So if you are listening on the radio, we are seeing pictures of Renée Zellweger yesterday in central London on a red carpet unveiling this beautiful bronze statue of Bridget Jones, which I think looks actually, Nana, quite a lot like Renée Zellweger. I think they've done it pretty well.
You have to go really close in to see it because it's on a backdrop of these sort of flowers. But it doesn't, I don't think it looks like her at all.
I think it does.
Just looking at that now, I mean, come on, that looks nothing like her.
So, of course, Leicester Square, very famous for these kind of statues. So we not only have a Bridget Jones statue, we've got Paddington Bear, another great British institution, Harry Potter, and Mary Poppins as well. So lots of great British film industry, celebrating the film industry of this country.
Is she your parasocial? That is the word of 2025, by the way.
Is it? Parasocial. OK, parasocial, yes. Renée Zellweger probably is one of them. So for those of you who weren't tuning in earlier, Nana was trying to give me a new word to learn.
Yes.
Parasocial, which essentially means you know somebody who's famous, but you think you know them.
So, you know, like, for me, it's Princess Kate. I think I know her, so I'll be, like, chatting away. I mean, I've had people do that to me as well, because I'm not there. Well, maybe they think they do know me, and they're chatting to me and everything, and I'm chatting to them, and I suddenly think to myself, I don't know who you are. wish I did.
Oh,
I try to think of the name, and I'm thinking, oh, God. And then they go, oh, you don't know me. I've just seen you on GBNews. And I think, oh, thank goodness, so hi, you know.
That's so cool.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's lovely.
I know what you mean.
If anyone comes to say hello to me,
I know exactly what you mean. So the Scenes in the Square, it's a new trail in Leicester Square if you want to go down in central London or if you're walking about. It's a free audio tour narrated by TV presenter Alex Zane, and it's all about these amazing characters which you can see in Leicester Square from British film, film and television shows. I can't believe, Nana, there's been 4 Bridget Jones films. 2001, we had Bridget Jones' Diary, we've had The Edge of Reason, we had Bridget Jones' Baby in 2016. Do you remember that?
Yes,
she did.
I didn't see that. I didn't see it because I stopped after the first one.
Oh, why?
Because I always worried that they're just going to get worse. No, I think I watched the second one as well.
Do you know, sometimes...
But then I kind of stopped because I thought, oh, no, is this going to go the same way as Rocky? Was Sylvester Stallone still trying to play him at age 100?
Well, there's always the worry, isn't there, that films, iconic British film series are going to go woke. You know, for example, there's always fears that James Bond is going to be made incredibly woke. But I think Bridget Jones stuck to its roots over the 20 years that they've been making Bridget Jones films. I don't think they necessarily went particularly woke at all. They stuck to their traditions, and I think that's why it's universally popular.
Yes, well, I think I might pop down to Leicester Square and have a look at it, actually, to see it close up, because there it's sort of quite dark and all of that. But she seems to like it, and I think her face has slightly changed, though, since that, because there was, when she did the first Bridget Jones, she was quite big and, you know, she was bubbly. But then people said that I think she had some sort of surgery or something.
Yeah, absolutely. But
no,
she doesn't. And she, of course, lost a load of weight because she was an actress, but then had to put it back on to play Bridget Jones because, of course, the whole point is that Bridget Jones is slightly overweight. Of course, it was novels before that. And I didn't know this, Nana. I don't know if you did, but it started off as a newspaper column in The Independent in 1995,
Oh, really?
an anonymous newspaper column before it became novels. So incredible.
Very good. Well, listen, stay with us. Loads more still to come here on Good Afternoon Britain. I'm Nana Akua, and of course the fabulous Cameron Walker on the show today. Lots more coming up.
Yes, we do.
More talk of that speech that Nigel Farage did, and we're talking more about immigration and what your thoughts are. gbnews.com/your say.
Yes, and Christopher Hope, our political editor, has sat down with Nigel Farage, so we'll be playing you that interview. Stay with us.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, this is your GB News weather forecast coming to you from the Met Office. The cold thing continues for the next few days, but with that there will be some rain around and also, unsurprisingly, a bit of snow and a bit of ice. There's an area of low pressure currently making its way southwards across Scotland into England as well, and it's this that's the driving force for outbreaks of rain. Many places likely to see some wet weather at times through today, albeit across the far southeast of England, staying largely dry through daylight hours at least. With that rain and the cold air, yes, there will be some sleet and snow around, perhaps to lower levels over parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, it just looks like it will be over higher ground. Temperatures are on the low side, markedly lower than they have been recently, near normal towards the south, a few degrees below across northern parts. As we go into this evening, still more snow likely across the highlands of Scotland and any modest higher ground over northern and eastern parts of Scotland in particular. Some showers piling into the north and the west of Scotland, and some of these could be falling as sleet, maybe a bit of hail mixed in. A few showers across parts of Northern Ireland and showery bursts of rain across much of England and Wales as well. Some of these could be a little bit on the heavy side, and there could be some winteriness, some sleet, some snow over modest high ground as well. As we go through the night, the showery rain, sleet and hill snow will push its way southwards and eventually start to clear away, but it is looking a bit wet at times across some central southern areas, with drier, clearer weather developing across parts of Scotland in particular, and where we get those clear skies, temperatures plummeting, widely falling below freezing. Rural spots could get into negative double figures. So tomorrow gets off to a bit of a wet start across some southeastern parts, but that rain clears away, and then there's actually a lot of fine sunny weather to be had. That being said, areas exposed to that brisk northerly Arctic air will see more showers, which could be wintry across parts of northern Scotland and also down the east and the west of the UK. Temperatures, if anything, lower than today.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
So many people within the armed services now can say that they owe their lives if they were, shall we say, work in the Middle East and in Afghanistan, in Iraq before that, actually owe their lives to the fact that it was dogs that they sent out to see whether or not there were explosives in a building, whether they were going through a minefield or whatever. So I think we were just talking previously, of course, Hannibal uses elephants. And there has not been a single year since the end of the Second World War when we have not had a conflict of some sort, and animals are still being used. We don't have horses used in the same way, obviously. We still had the cavalry, which is why 8 million horses were lost. Horses, donkeys and mules were lost in the First World War. But they weren't just the cavalry horses. They were the horses that were pulling the guns, that were delivering the armaments, that were carrying out the wounded. And what is interesting is, today in the 21st century, in Ukraine, who are leading the way in using drones in modern warfare, they are doing what they did in the First World War, and they're using horses, donkeys and mules to take the wounded out. The wonderful memorial that we have on Park Lane, it's there and it recognises that it was horses, dogs, donkeys, mules, and if you look, because they have individual statues of them, but if you actually look at the memorial itself, you will see pigeons, dolphins. I mean, we know that dolphins are being used. As human beings, we share this planet with millions of other animals. And for centuries, we have used certain animals and abused them, used them and abused them, and got them into service with us.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Tuesday, the 18th of November. I'm Cameron Walker.
And I'm Nana Akua.
I can see that this issue is dividing people across our country. It is not an issue just of white people rejecting migration or asylum seekers. I see my own constituents deeply worried about the community tensions and a system that is out of control.
The Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood tells GB News her plans to fix Britain's broken borders.
That was just hours after she sensationally lashed out at left-wing MPs who criticised her overhaul of the asylum system.
Unfortunately, I am the one that is regularly called and told to go back home. It is I who knows through my personal experience and that of my constituents just how divisive the issue of asylum has become in our country.
Will the Home Secretary finally get a grip on the asylum system?
MPs and members of the House of Lords, meanwhile, in some breaking news that MI5 have been warned by MI5 that they face a significant risk of espionage from the Chinese state. Security Minister Dan Jarvis has addressed Parliament, saying that spies are using cover companies and headhunters to access sensitive UK security information.
A shocking new report reveals 2/3 of adults granted refugee status after claiming asylum in the UK are on universal credit.
And prostate cancer patients are set to benefit from cheaper drugs as part of an NHS drive to use more medicines. About 4,000 men with advanced prostate cancer may become eligible to use the drug abiraterone. So you may have noticed that I completely butchered the pronunciation of this new wanted drug on the NHS, abiraterone. Gosh, I can't say it, abiraterone. Anyway, the point is it's very exciting because this is not only going to save the NHS £1 billion, but it's also going to be offered for the first time for free to patients on the NHS, to men who have advanced prostate cancer. So it used to cost £3,000 a dose. It's now down to £77 a dose, which means it's more cost-effective for the NHS. So it's 95% price drop, which means thousands of men with advanced prostate cancer could soon gain access to this drug, which gives them an extra 15 months of life, potentially. So it's very good news, I think, for prostate cancer patients in the UK.
Also more reasonable, the price of it all as well. Why was it so expensive in the first place? Got to ask yourself. I know that it's cost a lot of money to create new drugs, but by the sounds of this one's been around for a while. But
yes.
Some good news.
Apparently it's all to do with the patents of the particular drug running out, which is why it's far cheaper than it was previously. So some good news, actually. It's good to start with news, some good news, Nana, isn't it?
Right, send us your thoughts, your comments at gbnews.com/your say. But first, let's get your latest news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. Your lunchtime headlines. The Home Secretary is standing firm after unveiling one of the toughest asylum shake-ups in decades. Shabana Mahmood says she will get her reforms through Parliament despite anger from Labour's left and unexpected backing from the Conservatives. Her plan brings in 20-year waits for permanent residency, tougher and faster removals, new visa bans and an end to guaranteed financial support. But critics warn the package is dystopian and inhumane. Well, speaking at a press conference earlier today, Nigel Farage says the government is just copying Reform UK and said Labour is panicking about losing voters.
Frankly, I don't actually think that most of what she said will make any difference at all. And as for the gimmick, you know, we're going to take away people's watches and earrings, and I mean, this is just never going to happen. And rhetorically, fine, following very many of the things that we've been saying for some years, but in practice, I doubt much of it will actually happen.
But Shabana Mahmood insists her package will restore order and control at the borders.
There are some people in politics today who think you can either ignore the problem and just assert that it's not there and that somehow it's made up, it's misinformation, fake news, and if you just don't talk about it, it will somehow go away. There are others who will speak the language of inclusion and support for diversity, which I also agree with, but who will then not look to any solutions for the problems that we face. So they will shut down any possible solution and then therefore they are hypocrites because they have nothing else to offer.
Well, breaking news this lunchtime, MI5 has issued a fresh and urgent security alert to MPs, warning that Chinese state operatives are actively trying to recruit people inside Westminster. A message circulated to all parliamentary staff says the Chinese Ministry of State Security is using LinkedIn, recruitment firms and professional headhunters to make contact, gather information and then build long-term relationships. 2 individuals posing as recruiters have been singled out so far as operating at scale on behalf of Beijing, with MI5 warning that other fake profiles are also being used as espionage fronts. Parliament has been told the activity is targeted and widespread, and staff are being urged to report any suspicious approaches immediately. A political storm is brewing over the Chancellor's budget as Rachel Reeves comes under fire from both Reform UK and the Conservatives. Opponents accuse her of planning stealth tax rises to plug multi-billion-pound budget shortfalls, while Labour says the Tories have barefaced cheek after crashing the economy and leaving a £22 billion gap behind. But the pressure is mounting. Kemi Badenoch says that Keir Starmer needs a reality check and urged all parties to face up to the scale of the problem and stop dodging tough decisions.
It is wrong of him to deceive people, lie to them and make them think this is going to be easy. Government is difficult. That is what we learned. And we need parties in our country, not just Reform, but the Greens and the Lib Dems, to get a grip and start fixing the issues we have rather than living in la-la land.
Competition watchdog has launched sweeping investigations into some of the UK's biggest brands, from StubHub to A driving school, Gold's Gym and Wayfair, all over concerns about misleading online pricing. The CMA says these are the first cases under the new consumer protection powers after a review flagged tactics like hidden fees and pressured sales. It's also written to more than 100 companies across 14 sectors, warning them to clear up their practices. The watchdog's chief says that the price shoppers should see should be the price they should pay. New figures out this morning showed that the UK's migration picture has sharply been redrawn. Data confirming the peak was in fact bigger than first thought, and the fall since then much steeper. The ONS figures show the peak rose to 944,000 in early 2023, not the 906,000 previously published. Then, by the end of 2024, net migration had fallen to 345,000. That's far lower than the 431,000 originally estimated. The shift comes after experts overhauled how they track movement, replacing an older border survey with detailed national insurance records. Officials say the updated system now gives the clearest picture yet of who is arriving and who is heading out. Well, the UK's first real cold snap of the season has well and truly arrived. Temperatures plunging towards freezing overnight, and snow is now possible across parts of the country. Arctic air pushed cities from Newcastle to York, even in Southampton, down to 1 degree in the early hours. Multiple yellow warnings for snow and ice are now in force across Scotland and northern England until Thursday, while an amber cold health alert covers the northeast, northwest and Yorkshire. Forecasters say sleet, snow and dangerous icy patches are likely today, especially in eastern Scotland and the east of England, with sharper wind chill making it feel even colder. Conditions, though, are expected to ease by the weekend as milder air starts to return. Those are the lunchtime headlines. I'll be back with you shortly. Next, though, a look at the markets.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
And here's a look at the markets for you. The pound will buy you $1.3144 and €1.1348. The price of gold is £3,080.64 per ounce. And the FTSE 100 is at 9,556 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. We start with the news, the breaking news in the last hour, that MPs and parliamentarians have been warned of new attempts to spy on them by China.
Well, we are joined in the studio by GB News' Home and Security Editor, Mark White. Mark, what more do we know?
Well, this is on the back of an alert that went out to parliamentarians, both in the Commons and the Lords, warning of increased activity by the Chinese state through intelligence officers in this country to gain access to those that might have access behind the scenes to Parliament, to parliamentarians, and that could include parliamentarians themselves, but also their staff and others associated with them who might have some kind of insider knowledge that China would find valuable. We just had a statement from Dan Jarvis, the Security Minister, speaking in the Commons a short time ago. This is what he said.
Our intelligence agencies have warned that China is attempting to recruit and cultivate individuals with access to sensitive information about Parliament and the UK government. MI5 have stated that this activity is being carried out by a group of Chinese intelligence officers, often masked through the use of cover companies or external headhunters.
And it's that last point, actually, that Dan Jarvis was making there, that the way in which these intelligence officers have been reaching out to individuals within the parliamentary estate might seem fairly innocuous, that it looks like it's a legitimate recruitment agency or someone associated with that agency that is reaching out to you, looking for information, looking for advice and assistance, but behind them are these Chinese intelligence officers looking to recruit those that would be willing to divulge information of a sensitive nature to the Chinese state.
OK, so this is looking for people who could potentially be influenced and work on behalf of the Chinese state, rather than being tricked into thinking they're speaking to a recruitment officer when they're actually a Chinese spy.
They might be tricked at the initial outset, but then the relationship, we think, would develop. There would be incentives there, payment in cash, payment in cryptocurrency and alike. The Chinese state are by no means alone when it comes to the state actor threat. I was at a speech by the Director General of MI5 a couple of months back, and they said that the casework that MI5 officers are involved with is increasingly taken up by the threat from state actors. Russia, of course, key among them, but also Iran, and very much so China as well. And you remember in September we had the collapse of a court case of 2 men accused of spying for the Chinese state. That was, we were told, because of a reluctance on the part of the government in terms of the advice that it was going to provide for that upcoming court case to the Crown Prosecution Service, a reluctance to define China as a state threat. But clearly, I mean, those that are tasked with trying to keep the public safe believe that China does pose a significant threat.
All right, Mark White, thank you very much. Or a significant teat, in the words of Tom Harwood when he spelt it wrong. I thought that was most entertaining.
Quite possibly.
Well, stay with us. It's just gone 13 minutes after 1 o'clock. Now, political reporter Catherine Forster spoke to Kemi Badenoch earlier following Shabana Mahmood's asylum crackdown plans.
Kemi Badenoch, Shabana Mahmood announced these plans to get a grip of the small boats crisis yesterday. Some are saying they're the most radical asylum overhaul in modern times. Are they really? And if they are, why weren't the Tories more radical when you had 14 years to get a grip of it?
Well, I think the Home Secretary has actually been very brave, because when I saw her standing there, I could see all of the Labour backbenchers looking sick at the announcements that she was making, because they don't want to cut immigration. We tried all sorts of things to cut immigration, and we kept running into legal obstacles, endless lawfare. We tried again and again and again. If you remember, Catherine, those were the things that we were rowing about. How much tougher can we be? We had a Rwanda scheme that should have gone in 2022, and the judges blocked it again and again and again. That is why I have said we are going to leave the ECHR, because until we do so, we will never get round any of these problems. Shabana Mahmood is going to learn that lesson. But until then, we're going to support her. Quite a lot of the things she has said are good, positive steps. I said baby steps, but it's positive direction. Let's support her. There are some things she did announce that we don't agree with, but she's going to need our help if she's going to get this over the line, because Labour don't like what she's doing.
Yes, so you've said you will lend her votes, but do you think she can succeed? Because there's going to be all sorts of legal obstacles, just like you had. And do you really want Labour to succeed with this? Because if they do get to grips with this, that's going to make life much harder for the Tories.
But it's not about whether life is harder or easier for Conservatives. It's about whether life is harder or easier for those people out there, for your viewers. That's what I'm focused on. I'm not doing this so that I can just be an MP for the sake of being an MP. I am doing this because I want life in our country to be better. I don't want my children growing up in a dangerous country. I don't want my children growing up in a place where they don't have any affinity with others in their country. That means getting a grip on our borders, especially illegal migration. If Labour can sort that, the whole country is going to be happy. We've got to put party politics aside when it comes to controlling borders, and let's just deal with the situation we have. Labour are in government. If they have good policies, we will support them. If they have bad policies, we will oppose them.
But do you think realistically they can sort this for the next election? Because the legislation is going to take ages to come through, etc.
Well, she will need to move very quickly, but I am not optimistic about what her backbenchers will allow her to do. That's why I'm lending the votes. But as I said, without leaving the ECHR, I don't see how this will work. We put out a 200-page report showing how again and again and again the ECHR stops us from controlling our borders, stops us from deporting people who have no business here. It stops us from being able to protect our veterans. We have soldiers soldiers in their 70s who are being hounded, in the late stage of life because of the ECHR. And we put out a report that explains that this is happening. That's why we've got to deal with it. We will have human rights in our country as we always did. The right to a family life existed before 1997 when it was put into law by Labour. It will continue. But we need to get a grip on borders and we need to stop the boats.
And on the budget, Nigel Farage has been speaking this morning, talking about stopping universal credit for foreign nationals, including EU citizens with settled status. You have said he's in la-la land. Why is it not doable? Why do you think it's not a good idea?
It will take years and years and years to renegotiate the Brexit agreement. I mean, look at how much hassle we had. The idea that the EU is just going to say, all right, Nigel, what do you want? We'll give it to you. That is for the birds. And also, we need to be fair to some of these people. We had a lot of debates during Brexit. We had a lot of research, a lot of work done on how can we do right by EU citizens who have the right to live here who don't. We created a settled status scheme for them. That was the fair thing to do. There are reciprocal arrangements for Brits living in Spain, lots of people on the Costa del Sol and so on. Let's be fair to these people. Simply ripping that up just because it's fun or because you want to distinguish yourself from the Conservatives who've actually done the real work on this, I don't think is fair. Let's focus on the things that we have put in our borders plan, deporting all foreign criminals, doesn't matter whether they're EU or not, let's get them out, removing benefits from a lot of people who have no business being here. Those are tough policies, but what you can tell from us is that we will be tough but also fair. What Reform announced today is not fair.
And just finally, Shabana Mahmood had a message for Nigel Farage yesterday, which I think was sod off. Do you have a message for him about these announcements that he is making this morning, these promises that you say are undeliverable?
I think that it's very amusing that 3 months after we make announcements, he repeats them but adds a little bit of sprinkle of, I don't know, it looks like sawdust, to be honest, on top. If you want to be able to run a government, you need to do the work. You cannot copy other people's homework. You're getting it wrong, and that's going to be unfair on millions of people out there.
And just finally, do you believe that the Prime Minister will still be the Prime Minister come the next election, and do you believe that you will still be leader of the opposition?
Of course I will still be leader of the opposition. I'm leading a strong team. We're the only credible alternative to Labour. The truth is, what we're seeing with Labour is a lot of instability. As I said at PMQs last week, it doesn't matter who they replace him with. They're still the same backbenchers sitting there, still the same people who want to increase spending on welfare, who don't know how to run the economy. None of them have ever run a business. Most of them have never even worked in the private sector. They've all come from the public sector, trade unions. They don't know where money comes from, and that's why they have things like this terrible budget. We need to get them to not raise taxes and punish everyone else.
Kemi Badenoch, thank you very much for talking to us on GB News.
Thank you, Catherine.
Well, joining us now is our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, fresh from her interview with Leader of Opposition, Kemi Badenoch. Catherine, you covered a lot there. What do you make of what Kemi was saying, particularly around what the Home Secretary has planned and perhaps working with her?
Yes, well, she said that Shabana Mahmood's been very brave, but she also said that Labour backbenchers, she doesn't think will wear it. I think she thinks that they will struggle to get it through both houses of Parliament. And then, of course, Shabana Mahmood's likely to face the same legal challenges that the Conservatives did. So she said that Shabana Mahmood will learn the lesson like they have, that ultimately she believes leaving the ECHR is the only way, although, of course, that wouldn't be simple either. On universal credit payments, Nigel Farage this morning announcing that basically they would be stopped for all foreign nationals, including EU citizens who had been granted settled status. She'd said in the press conference that was basically living in la-la land. She said it really wouldn't be fair, that the EU wouldn't take it, that these deals have been very difficult to get up and running. And she basically said that they had nicked the Conservatives' plans because a couple of months ago they announced removing benefits from lots of foreign nationals, but the exception was EU citizens with settled status. Now Nigel Farage has come along and said that reform would do that as well. Kemi Badenoch not impressed by that. And just finally, she seems pretty sure that she will still be leading the Conservatives into the next election. She didn't say about the Prime Minister, but she did say it doesn't matter who they replace him with, which sounds to me like she does expect him to go. But she's basically saying, look, it doesn't matter who they put in his place. Her effective message seems to be that she thinks the Labour government don't know what they're doing.
Watch this space. Catherine Forster, our political correspondent, thank you very much for joining us.
Right there, it's time now for the Great British Giveaway. Your chance to get these goodies. Just 1 week left. Here's your chance.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash so you can have a brilliant new year. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, the decorations, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. And the best news? You'll get it all in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB 17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck indeed.
Best of luck with that. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, a third of GPs could be willing to close their surgeries for a day in protest of the online booking system. We'll be joined by a GP to find out why.
And all of that and much more coming up. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Well, there is more bad news for Sir Keir Starmer today.
Yes, you wouldn't think it if you read the front of the Mirror this morning saying, I'll lead Labour at next election. Hopefully you can see that. There you go. I'll lead Labour at next election, says the Prime Minister to the Daily Mirror. Although there's been a new YouGov poll which kind of says the opposite, because nearly half of Labour voters, his own party, want Sir Keir Starmer to step down before the next election. It's a bit contradictory, isn't it, now?
Well, I think, he's just been delusional, Keir Starmer. Well, we're joined now by a former Labour advisor, Paul Richards. Paul Richards, do you want him to go?
No, I don't. And my message to those that are saying he should is to ask them, well, what would you have instead? I mean, one of the names that seems to be popping up is Andy Burnham, but he's not even a member of Parliament, Nana. You know, he's got the same chance of becoming Prime Minister as you do, as things stand. So, you have to be ever so careful of what you wish for, I think.
Yes.
I think I've got more chance, Paul.
Paul, what the problem is, of course, the facts of this poll is that nearly half of Labour voters want Sir Keir Starmer to step down. Why do you think so many have lost faith in the Prime Minister?
Well, I think the serious point is that there is a huge hunger for change. People are sick to death with the way things are running. And that was partly expressed at the last election with the big Labour landslide, and is now expressed, I think, through this sort of frustration that things aren't changing as fast as people would want. And that comes out with a sense that, oh, well, if we just swap the leader for somebody else, everything will be better. But surely for Labour, the lesson that we should have learned from the Conservative period was that swapping leaders doesn't actually make any difference. What makes a difference is changing things in people's communities. The Tories went through a raft of different leaders, but it didn't help them when the polls were opened, did it? They had a huge defeat. So Labour just needs to learn that lesson and stick with the leadership we have. I would also say it's very hard for Labour MPs to actually swap the leader. There needs to be 81 Labour MPs willing to sign up to a contest. Starmer can then stand in that contest if he so chose. And who is the obvious successor? I remember when, Blair was being ousted, there was an obvious successor in Gordon Brown, and he then won as a part of a coronation. There was no contest, but there's no obvious successor to Keir Starmer within the Labour Party. So I think the real lesson is, get on with it. As these are noises off, they're not very helpful. And we need to get on with delivering change. And that's the thing we should be judged on at the next election. Did we manage to get illegal migration down? Did we get waiting lists in the health service down? Do people see more cops on their streets? Our houses are easier to buy? Things that really matter to people.
Paul, I hear you. But bear in mind, so there was the smallest electoral turnout because nobody really, it was pretty much, we'll get someone. If you were to look at the votes, well, he didn't really get that many, but he got more than everybody else. He's also been seen as the least popular Prime Minister ever, the Chancellor, the least popular Chancellor ever. I would argue he doesn't appear to have any charisma. People don't want to follow him, and that's the first deal if you're a leader. And I hear you talking about the Tory party, but they just had a run of nonsense for a couple of years. It was just very embarrassing. But you're in a place after only 16 or 17 months where people are losing confidence in him. All right, if you're happy with him, name one really good thing that he has done, a really good policy that, you can say that he's done that everybody has followed him on.
Well, I mean, first of all, we don't elect a president or a king in this country. He's the Prime Minister, but we don't elect him. So people vote for their local Labour MP, and that's what we saw in the election. Second of all, as you say, it's only a year and a bit in, and I think, we judge our... we judge our prime ministers over the cycle of a 4 or 5 year term of office, which we're not even halfway through yet. But your question, what's he delivered? I mean, the thing that gets me is that a lot of the stuff that has been delivered, for example, the big trade deals with the States and the EU and India, are big, important things that will pay off down the line. Now, I know,
weren't they set up by the previous government and he sort of finished them off? Like he didn't start at zero.
I think they... no, I think those governments failed to deliver the big trade deals with the EU.
But the negotiations have been happening previously, though. Do you know what I mean? So they didn't just go in there. They may have closed the deal at the end.
I mean, people complain about Starmer being abroad a lot, and he has spent a lot of time shoring up our relations around the world. But those are now paying off. And I think the dilemma for Labour, to be absolutely fair, is that we haven't managed to change everything overnight, but we are putting down the groundwork of things like the trade deals, and the house building, and getting rid of some of the blockages on house building, for example, that will pay off down the line. And I'm pretty sure by the time of the next election, which is a long way away, that actually people will see real change in their communities. Even something as simple as scrapping the police and crime commissioners this week, that puts more police on the streets, and that's a good thing that people want. And if Shabana Mahmood is successful in this very audacious attempt to stop illegal migration, return people who shouldn't be here, and deter people from coming in the first place, then that's something the electorate, I think, will really respond well to.
But Paul, you cite all of these things which the Labour government has done and has achieved. The problem is, for the general public, all of it's being overshadowed by a series of scandals and, briefings, freebie gates. We have, the briefing of the anonymous briefing in Downing Street last week, kind of throwing shade at Minister Wes Streeting. All of this is overshadowing the work that you say the Labour government is doing.
Well, I remember in the government that I worked in back in the days of Tony Blair, there were these kinds of frothy stories all the time about donations from Bernie Ecclestone and God knows what else. But ultimately, governments are not judged on the froth. They are judged on the substance. So, yes, these kind of scandals are really unhelpful. Freebie gate, ridiculous. The resignations of the Deputy Prime Minister, really unhelpful. Briefings from Downing Street. A disgrace. Peter Mandelson, a disgrace. But that's not what people will judge the government on. They'll judge it on, can my kids afford a house near where I live? Are there apprenticeships? Is crime falling? Do I feel safe? And have we closed the hotels? Those are the things that we should be judged on.
Well, if that's the case, if that's the case, and he's doing so well, I don't understand why he's so unpopular. Paul Richards, really good to talk to you as ever. He's a former Labour advisor.
Thank you. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, prostate cancer patients are set to benefit from cheaper drugs as part of an NHS drive to use more medicines. About 4,000 men with advanced prostate cancer may become eligible to use the drug
Abiraterone.
There you go.
There we go.
All of that. Sorry.
That's it. All of that and much more coming up after your news headlines with Sam.
Very good afternoon to you. The top stories this lunchtime. MI5 has issued an urgent China espionage alert. Parliament's been warned that Chinese intelligence is using professional headhunters on LinkedIn to target MPs and their staff. The security briefing names 2 individuals accused of large-scale outreach on behalf of Beijing. And MI5 says other fake profiles are still active. MPs are being told it's active and targeted, and that the infiltration is widespread and ongoing. Breaking in the last few minutes, a major internet outage has taken down X, ChatGPT and a number of other popular services. Cloudflare, a web infrastructure company, says it is aware of and investigating the issue after thousands of users reported problems accessing sites. Facebook, Canva and Spotify are also suffering outages, according to Down Detector. The Home Secretary is standing firm on one of the toughest asylum shake-ups in decades. Shabana Mahmood plans to bring 20-year waits for residency, faster removals, visa bans and an end to guaranteed support. Critics, though, call it dystopian, with Nigel Farage claiming Labour is copying Reform UK. A political storm already swirling around the Chancellor's budget. Rachel Reeves is facing fire from Reform and the Tories, accused of plotting stealth tax rises. Labour says the Conservatives have bare-faced cheek after crashing the economy. But Kemi Badenoch says it's Sir Keir Starmer that needs a reality check. The UK's migration picture has been sharply rewritten today. New ONS figures show the peak hit 944,000, higher than first reported, before plunging to 345,000 at the end of 2024. officials say a new tracking system used national insurance data to give the clearest picture yet. And the competition watchdog has launched a clean-up of major UK brands. The CMA has also warned 100 more firms to clean up tactics like hidden fees, saying the price shoppers see should be the price they pay. Those are your lunchtime headlines. I'll be back with you in half an hour.
Hello again, this is your GB News weather forecast coming to you from the Met Office. The cold thing continues for the next few days, but with that there will be some rain around and also, unsurprisingly, a bit of snow and a bit of ice. There's an area of low pressure currently making its way southwards across Scotland into England as well, and it's this that's the driving force for outbreaks of rain. Many places likely to see some wet weather at times through today, albeit across the far southeast of England, staying largely dry through daylight hours at least. With that rain and the cold air, yes, there will be some sleet and snow around, perhaps to lower levels over parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, it just looks like it will be over higher ground. Temperatures are on the low side, markedly lower than they have been recently, near normal towards the south, a few degrees below across northern parts. As we go into this evening, still more snow likely across the Highlands of Scotland and any modest higher ground over northern and eastern parts of Scotland in particular. Some showers piling into the north and the west of Scotland, and some of these could be falling as sleet, maybe a bit of hail mixed in. A few showers across parts of Northern Ireland and showery bursts of rain across much of England and Wales as well. Some of these could be a little bit on the heavy side, and there could be some winteriness, some sleet, some snow over modest high ground as well. As we go through the night, the showery rain, sleet and hill snow will push its way southwards and eventually start to clear away, but it is looking a bit wet at times across some central southern areas, with drier, clearer weather developing across parts of Scotland in particular, and where we get those clear skies, temperatures plummeting, widely falling below freezing. Rural spots could get into negative double figures. So tomorrow gets off to a bit of a wet start across some south-southeastern parts, but that rain clears away, and then there's actually a lot of fine sunny weather to be had. That being said, areas exposed to that brisk northerly Arctic air will see more showers, which could be wintry across parts of northern Scotland and also down the east and the west of the UK. Temperatures, if anything, lower than today.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the UK. We're truly humbled, and we couldn't have done it without you.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. At Cairnryan, the A77 faces restrictions in both directions due to a broken down heavy goods vehicle. In Hertfordshire, the M25 anti-clockwise exit slip at junction 24 has one of two lanes closed due to a broken down vehicle. Meanwhile, in Kent, the A20 eastbound between the A260 and the junction with the A256 heading towards Dover West is experiencing congestion with delays of 10 minutes. And on the trains, there is disruption on cross-country services between Reading and Didcot Parkway, along with issues on the Elizabeth line between London Paddington and Heathrow terminals as well as Reading. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back to Good Afternoon Britain. The time is 1:40, and just a reminder of that breaking news in the last hour or so that Twitter and ChatGPT and other sites have crashed for thousands of users across the whole world. It's been pinned on problems at a site or a company called Cloudflare, which is an internet infrastructure business that provides the cybersecurity and networking services to dozens of major websites. So if you're wondering why you can't get on Facebook or X or ChatGPT, that's why.
I think Facebook's okay. I'm on Facebook. I'm looking at it.
How are you?
Yeah, Facebook looks okay to me, but then maybe it's something, maybe it was something that it cached earlier. But yes, so just to remind you that if you are trying to get onto X, or in fact trying to use ChatGPT, then those have crashed. It seems interesting timing though, doesn't it, since we're talking about China. We had some breaking news about the spies and all that kind of thing.
Of course, no evidence that it is China, of course. No, but what you can do is watch GB News instead. So you can keep us here at Good Afternoon Britain. And we've got some major breaking news, or a new major breakthrough, I should say, Nana, as well, haven't we?
Yes, of course, in the fight against prostate cancer, which is the most common cancer among men, men who are suffering from the disease will be among the first to benefit from a new expansion in cheap drugs.
Yeah, the drug Abaterone has cost around £3,000 a month, but that could now fall to just £77 a month if it's approved by the NHS's Medicines Watchdog tomorrow.
Right, well, we're joined now by pharmacist Thorin Govind to find out more. Thorin, very good to see you. So this is wonderful, isn't it? Because this drug, I understand, has been around for a while, but it was incredibly expensive. What kind of benefits
Well, I know
can
everyone
people
will be
get from
tuning
it?
in because nobody's watching social media. They're all here watching GB News. And we know that prostate cancer is, as you say, the most common cancer in men in the UK. And it usually affects men over 50 years of age, and the risk increases with age. And exactly as you said there, when we have drugs which are developed by manufacturers, they get a grace period to allow them to recoup some of the money that they have spent investigating and researching that drug. And this drug is used to treat advanced prostate cancer. So always positive news when we're able to get drugs a bit more cheaply for the NHS.
And of course, this could potentially increase life expectancy for those men in the late stages of this cancer, the prostate cancer.
Yes, so prostate cancer develops in the prostate gland, which is a small gland located just below the bladder and in front of the rectum. It's one of these drugs which is used to treat advanced prostate cancer. So it's not the first one we would go to. And it blocks an enzyme which is needed to produce testosterone. Because prostate cancer cells use testosterone to grow. This helps lower the level of testosterone, so slowing down or stopping the cancer from spreading. And it's usually in a tablet form. And I just think it'd be a really good time to really just mention that these cancer cells, when these cells in the prostate grow uncontrollably, that's when we're experiencing those cancer symptoms that we're talking about. But it can be that you experience the symptoms and you don't actually know that you have it. So it's really important that people are vigilant and aware and making sure that we're talking more about men's health, because we haven't always been great at doing that, have we?
Yeah.
Can I just ask, with regard to prostate cancer, are there some forms of it that they don't actually treat by removing, but you kind of live with it and they sort of keep it at bay? Are there some of those where they don't do anything really substantial to it?
There can be. So it depends whether it's localised. So localised, they would usually do some active surveillance to look for the lower risk cases. In some cases where it is more severe, they may also look into radiotherapy. I think when it comes to men's health, and we've had a women's health strategy which is improving, and even men's health, men don't talk about these things. They don't talk about the needing to go to the toilet more, or they don't talk about how they're feeling. We're not necessarily great at that, and sometimes we don't always get the treatment that we need. As men don't always get the treatment that they need as soon as they could do. So I think that the fact that we're having these conversations, and I remember Chris Hoy, you will have all know of, he was quite vocal about talking about how his journey with prostate cancer. So I think that it's good that we've got this option available. But in terms of drugs which are coming off patent, the weight loss jabs, which we all love talking about, that will be 2031. Some of those will be coming off. But this year, there's been some other diabetes drugs as well, which are coming off patent. So I think this is a positive for the NHS, maybe not for the manufacturers, though.
And Thorin, there is a government men's health strategy, including DIY blood tests for early detection when it comes to prostate cancer, right? Because, of course, we're talking with this drug about advanced prostate cancer, where perhaps it's terminal. But as you say, there's a huge taboo around men getting checks for this disease.
Yes, and we don't routinely do PSA tests. That's the test which you would do. We don't routinely do them, but you can go and ask for that from your GP or healthcare professional. And that UK men's health strategy, that was published this week, so we're fresh into it now. And it's talking about reducing avoidable deaths, and also about making healthcare more accessible and convenient for men. We know that men sometimes often send their other halves in to come and get advice on treatment. But in terms of those testing kits that we're talking about now, what they are talking about is tests that can be done at home and returned by post to make monitoring a bit easier.
OK, well, Thorin Govan, thank you very much for that. OK.
Thank you. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show. And if you're in some search of some holiday sun, though, here's the forecast. Some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's going to be an unsettled week across eastern parts of the Mediterranean with intense thundery rain by the weekend. Further west, it's drier, but there will be some rain around northern coastal parts of Spain, also pushing into parts of Portugal and West Spain as well. Also some rain across southern Italy, but it's further east affecting Greece, Albania, Croatia and other nearby nations. This is where we're going to have the heaviest, most thundery rain, particularly as we go Friday and into Saturday. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Well, lots more coming up on today's show.
The UK has been hit with its first cold snap of the winter season, with the Met Office warning that a significant drop in temperature will lead to frost and snow in many areas of the country.
Well, stay with us to find out where that might be. All that and more. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel. Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
I'm Camilla Tominey. This is GB News, Britain's election channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Me and my mum, and look, it looks real, doesn't it?
It isn't. I thought that was real when I first saw it.
Yeah, not that you'll be able to see it, but anyway, it's me and mum.
Things like that, AI is amazing, isn't it? Because your mum's no longer with us.
Yes.
You've got a lovely video of you hugging her.
Yeah.
Which is lovely.
Which is not real, but anyway. It's but I liked it. Like the idea, I thought they've done it very well.
Yeah.
It's quite. But good luck to kids learning to tell the difference between all of that.
Well, we are talking about education today. Lots of you getting in touch. Edmund says, my grandson ended up going to hospital with stress over his exams. GCSEs are too much, I think. They've gotten harder and harder. They're not like they were when I was at school. I only got 3 exams done at 16 and then I dropped out afterwards.
What, you get 3 exams at 16?
That's what Edmund got. He says GCSEs are much harder now. Peter says some of us were self-sufficient at 15 years old. We were growing our own food, we were collecting fuel for our fires, and we had paper jobs, not playing with phones and on social media all the time.
That's a very good point. That's absolutely right. You know, people were fighting in the First World War and the Second World War at 15, 16, 17. And, you know, I mean, pressure. I mean, I just think I think we should teach kids to be more resilient.
Yes.
That's the thing. I think that you just can't say they've buckled and we see that as the latest stage. Some of you may agree with me, but I mean, everybody. I mean, how the heck? I could bore you silly, believe me, bore you silly with pressure and things you did for school and you know, what was expected. There was just no tolerance for any leniency in my school at all, but we got through it and I can say happiest days of my life still.
Well, maybe resilience needs to be taught in the national curriculum. Maybe it needs to be taught more
resilience,
at home.
Good idea.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. Now, you may have noticed it's quite cold outside, quite chilly. The first cold snap of the winter season. The Met Office warning that a significant drop in temperature will lead to frost and snow in many areas of the country.
Yes, an amber cold health alert has been issued by the UK Health Security Agency for parts of England as the Met Office warned overnight temperatures could drop to as low as -10 degrees this week.
Oh, well, joining us now from the Met Office is meteorologist and presenter Alex Burkill. Alex, welcome to Good Afternoon Britain. It is incredibly cold. How long is this going to last? And is there a potential that we could have some snow in the United Kingdom?
Well, lots of things to unpack there. Yes, it's very cold. And I think the thing that most people will notice is just how much of a change it's been to how mild it was through the start of November. So the temperatures that we're seeing at the moment, they're not actually that unusual for this stage in the year, but it's just so much colder than it was just this time last week. And things are set to turn a little bit colder still. I think Wednesday, Thursday, they're probably going to be the coldest days this week. Wednesday night, Thursday night in particular, look like they're going to be the coldest spells in particular. But thereafter, we're going to see some rain arriving later Friday. And with that, then temperatures are likely to rise a little bit as we go into the weekend, but with also some rain around. Now, you asked if we're going to see some snow, and the answer is yes. There is going to be quite a bit of snow around. Not everywhere, though, as you might expect. Northern parts, particularly northern Scotland, is likely to see the most amount of snow. We could see maybe 20 centimetres over the highest ground over northern Scotland. But it's worth bearing in mind there will be some winteriness, some rain, sleet and snow pushing southwards today. Not a huge amount to lower levels, so mostly a high ground thing. But as we go through tomorrow and Thursday, we have showers piling down on this cold northerly wind, and it's these that bring the risk of something a bit wintry to both eastern areas and also some western parts as well.
Oh, so where are we likely to get snow then? So give us some of the places where there'll be snow and where you think there definitely won't be. Like, will there be snow in London?
Well, it's looking unlikely for London for a number of reasons. It's a bit too far south, and also it's just a bit too mild at the moment. That being said, there is this swathe of showery rain that's pushing its way southwards at the moment, and there's a bit of winteriness, so some sleet, some hill snow mixed in with it. So as we go through this evening overnight, you can't rule out a little bit of wet snow, even in places such as London. But your central inland areas down this central kind of column of the UK, if you will, that's where we're most likely to stay largely dry after this wet weather that we're seeing through today clears through. So through Wednesday, Thursday. Newcastle's more likely to see... Yeah, Newcastle's more likely to see some showers coming in. So anywhere towards eastern parts of England and down the eastern side of Scotland, you're a bit more exposed to this northerly wind. And so you have a reasonable chance of seeing some showers. And the further north you are, so Newcastle's pretty far north, we are likely to see some of those showers falling as sleet or snow. The North York Moors also at risk of seeing some relatively high totals of snow, could see maybe 20 centimetres over the peaks of there. Also worth bearing in mind, maybe parts of southwest Wales, southwest England could see some sleet.
Nice. All right. Alex Burkill, thank you very much. Really good to talk to you, to actually talk to you. Because normally he's on the thing, isn't he? And you can't really...
Yeah, we do. Nice to have a conversation.
The pre-record normally.
Definitely. Yes, it's incredibly cold, but of course, lots more coming up on today's show. We will have an interview with Nigel Farage with our political editor, Chris Hope, so please don't go anywhere.
Don't forget, X, formerly known as Twitter, the other way around, and ChatGPT have crashed.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, this is your GB News weather forecast coming to you from the Met Office. The cold thing continues for the next few days, but with that, there will be some rain around and also, unsurprisingly, a bit of snow and a bit of ice. There's an area of low pressure currently making its way southwards across Scotland into England as well, and it's this that's the driving force for outbreaks of rain. Many places likely to see some wet weather at times through today, albeit across the far southeast of England, staying largely dry through daylight hours at least. With that rain and the cold air, yes, there will be some sleet and snow around, perhaps to lower levels over parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, it just looks like it will be over higher ground. Temperatures are on the low side, markedly lower than they have been recently, near normal towards the south, a few degrees below across northern parts. As we go into this evening, still more snow likely across the highlands of Scotland and any modest higher ground over northern and eastern parts of Scotland in particular. Some showers piling into the north and the west of Scotland. Scotland, and some of these could be falling as sleet, maybe a bit of hail mixed in. A few showers across parts of Northern Ireland and showery bursts of rain across much of England and Wales as well. Some of these could be a little bit on the heavy side, and there could be some winteriness, some sleet, some snow over modest high ground as well. As we go through the night, the showery rain, sleet and hill snow will push its way southwards and eventually start to clear away, but it is looking a bit wet at times across some central southern areas, with drier, clearer weather developing across parts of Scotland in particular, and where we get those clear skies, temperatures plummeting, widely falling below freezing. Rural spots could get into negative double figures. So tomorrow gets off to a bit of a wet start across some south-southeastern parts, but that rain clears away, and then there's actually a lot of fine sunny weather to be had. That being said, areas exposed to that brisk northerly Arctic air will see more showers, which could be wintry across parts of northern Scotland and also down the east and the west of the UK. Temperatures, if anything, lower than today.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Tuesday, the 18th of November. I'm Nana Akua.
And I'm Cameron Walker.
I can see that this issue is dividing people across our country. It is not an issue just of white people rejecting migration or asylum seekers. I see my own constituents deeply worried about the community tensions and a system that is out of control.
The Home Secretary tells GB News her plans to fix Britain's broken borders.
And that was just hours after she sensationally lashed out at left-wing MPs who criticised her overhaul of the asylum system.
Unfortunately, I am the one that is regularly called and told to go back home. It is I who knows through my personal experience and that of my constituents just how divisive the issue of asylum has become in our country.
Will the Home Secretary finally get a grip on the asylum system?
Now, in other news, MPs and members of the House of Lords have been warned by MI5 that they face significant risk of espionage from the Chinese state. Security Minister Dan Jarvis addressed Parliament, saying spies are using cover companies and headhunters to access sensitive UK security information.
A shocking new report reveals 2/3 of adults granted refugee status after claiming asylum in the UK are on universal credit.
Prostate cancer patients are set to benefit from cheaper drugs as part of an NHS drive to use more medicines. About 4,000 men with advanced prostate cancer may become eligible for the drug albuterol.
And social platforms X, formerly known as Twitter, and ChatGPT have crashed for thousands of users across the world. The crash has been pinned on problems at Cloudflare, which is an internet infrastructure business that provides the sites with cybersecurity and network services to dozens of major websites.
So I'm just going into my conspiracy theorist brain and saying, oh, we're talking about Chinese spies, and now X and ChatGPT have gone down.
Although X for me is back, so it's clearly being slowly put back up for other users. But Nana, you're struggling to get on it. But of course, later on this hour, we've got an interview with, is it your former friend or your friend's former colleague? Jeff Banks? Jeff Banks at BBC?
No, well, Jeff Banks, you see, I loved him on the Clothes Show Live all those years ago, and I got to interview him on my show, and so now we formed a bit of a bond and a friendship. But yes, Clothes Show was on the BBC. He's worked for the BBC for many, many years, and of course, we do still have an issue with the BBC. Donald Trump is looking to sue them for $1 to $5 billion.
Yeah, and it's because Jeff Banks has gone viral on X, funnily enough, which some of you can't get on right now. But he was basically saying that the founder of the BBC, John Reith, he would be turning in his grave to the state that Jeff Banks says that the BBC has become in terms of not being impartial, Jeff says. Also, the pandering to the political elite and the political establishment in this country, Jeff says, which lots of people agree with. Lots of people don't agree with as well. But President Trump, as you were saying, Nana, obviously still suing the BBC over that edited Panorama documentary.
But what it is they were so kind of arrogant about the fact that, oh, no, well, we're sorry, but, you know, we don't think we've done anything wrong sort of thing. But we realise we've done something wrong, but it's OK because they don't understand. I don't think a lot of them understand the depth of anger and also the depth of what they have actually done, because as much as I love the BBC, I don't believe in bashing them because I think they do offer some very, very good services. It would be a shame to lose them, and I'm grateful for the training they gave me. However, as I say repeatedly, they taught me never to do that. So.
Well, this, of course, is an opportunity, I think, for the BBC to refresh. Its Director General Tim Davie has gone, and so has Deborah Turness, the head of news. They have both resigned, so could this be an opportunity for them to get back to the ways which Jeff Banks preferred back in the day?
I don't think so. I think they're too far gone, and I think Samir Shah also needs to go, and a few others, especially those that actually approved that edit, whoever they were.
Well, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's your news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. Fast approaching 5 minutes past 2. The top story this hour, the Home Secretary standing firm after unveiling one of the toughest asylum shake-ups in decades. Shabana Mahmood says she will get her reforms through Parliament despite anger from Labour's left and unexpected backing from the Conservatives. Her plan brings in 20-year waits for permanent residency, tougher and faster removals, new visa bans and an end to guaranteed financial support. But critics warn that package is dystopian and, they say, inhumane. Nigel Farage among them claims the government is just copying reform and says that Labour is panicking about losing its voters.
Frankly, I don't actually think that most of what she said or make any difference at all. And as for the gimmick, you know, we're going to take away people's watches and earrings, and I mean, this is just never going to happen. And rhetorically, fine, following very many of the things that we've been saying for some years, but in practice, I doubt much of it will actually happen.
But Shabana Mahmood insists it's a package that she says will restore order and control at the border.
There are some people in politics today who think you can either ignore the problem and just assert that it's not there and that somehow it's made up, it's misinformation, fake news, and if you just don't talk about it, it will somehow go away. There are others who will speak the language of inclusion and support for diversity, which I also agree with, but who will then not look to any solutions for the problems that we face. So they will shut down any possible solution and then therefore they are hypocrites because they have nothing else to offer.
In other news, MI5 has issued an urgent and fresh security alert to MPs this hour, warning that Chinese state operatives are actively trying to recruit people inside Westminster. A message circulated to all parliamentary staff says the Chinese Ministry of State Security is using LinkedIn, recruitment firms and professional headhunters to make contact, gather information and then build long-term relationships. 2 individuals posing as recruiters have been singled out as operating at scale on behalf of Beijing, with MI5 warning that other fake profiles are also being used as espionage fronts. Parliament's been told the activity is targeted and widespread, and staff are being urged to report any suspicious approaches immediately. Returning to politics, and a storm is brewing over the Chancellor's next budget. Rachel Reeves coming under fire from both Reform UK and the Conservatives today. Opponents accuse her of planning stealth tax rises to plug a multi-billion-pound budget shortfall, while Labour says the Tories have barefaced cheek after crashing the economy and leaving a billions-pound worth gap behind. But the pressure is mounting. Kemi Badenoch says Sir Keir Starmer needs a reality check and urged all parties to face up to the scale of the problem.
It's wrong of him to deceive people, lie to them and make them think this is going to be easy. Government is difficult. That is what we learned. And we need parties in our country, not just Reform, but the Greens and the Lib Dems, to get a grip and start fixing the issues we have rather than living in la-la land.
A major internet outage is still affecting X, ChatGPT and a number of other services. Cloudflare, a web infrastructure company, says it is aware of and investigating the issue after thousands of users reported problems accessing sites. Facebook, Canva and Spotify are also among those suffering outages, according to Down Detector. And the UK's first real cold snap of the season has arrived, with temperatures plunging towards freezing overnight and snow now possible in some parts of the country. Arctic air pushed cities from Newcastle right through to Southampton down to 1 degree in the early hours. Multiple yellow warnings for snow and ice are in force across Scotland and northern England until Thursday, while an amber cold health alert covers the northeast, northwest and Yorkshire. Forecasters say sleet, snow and dangerous icy patches are also likely today, especially in eastern Scotland and the east of England. Those are the 2 o'clock headlines. I'll be back with you in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
9 minutes past 2, the markets for you. The pound will buy you $1.3144 and €1.1348. The price of gold is £3,080 and 64 pence per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 9,556 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. Now, earlier, our political editor Christopher Hope sat down with Nigel Farage to discuss the Home Secretary's asylum plans. Have a listen.
Nigel Farage, thank you for joining us today on GB News. You saw Shabana Mahmood's statement yesterday in the House of Commons. Are you worried she's eating your lunch?
Oh, I've heard that phrase before. You know, do you remember when David Cameron promised a referendum? That's it, it's all over for UKIP, or we won the European elections the year afterwards. No, and all she does is validate our position, I mean, particularly with the rhetoric that she was using. Look, I wish her well, but I just don't see.
Do you really, though? Will you support her? The Tories will support her measures. Will you vote for those measures they announced yesterday?
Well, I'll vote for measures if I think they're actually going to work.
So will you vote for her measures?
No. I'll vote for them if I think they're going to work. Let's see how it all gets amended, and let's bear in mind that all the while we have the Human Rights Act, all the while we're signed up to the ECHR, all the while we have the judges and the judiciary in our post-Blair world that we've got. Would I vote for something that I don't think can work? Unlikely.
Do you want her to succeed in dealing with the small boats crisis?
I'd love a British government to control our borders, make us wealthy.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't need to bother them, would I?
I only ask that because some very senior Labour figures tell us that you don't want them to succeed. Because simply the reason is this: if they fail, it makes the case for ECHR withdrawal.
Yeah. Listen, you've got to remember, you're dealing with those people. You're dealing with Oxbridge careerists. I'm not. I don't need this job. I'm doing this because I believe I can make a difference.
You want them to fail so you can become PM in 2029.
That's your mindset. That's how you all think. I'm not like that.
That's how they think.
Of course they do, because they're all from the same circle of people.
So you believe in national interests?
I am in politics to do something, not to be something. And if they do all of it in the next few years, I won't personally be needed.
You'll retire happily. That's nonsense.
But you know it's not going to happen.
You've announced plans today for £25 billion worth of spending cuts. We don't even know who your shadow chancellor is. You're relying a lot on trust, on your ability to persuade voters. Why should they believe you?
Do you know, 16 months ago, you didn't give the party a cat's chance in hell of winning a single seat.
Well, you won 5 MPs.
Getting a significant...
nowhere.
And just look what we managed to do in the last 16 months. It is a work in progress. We've made... I tell you what, just look how we broadened the team out, even over the course of this summer. So is there going to be a moment in time when you're going to see a potential shadow cabinet? Yes.
When?
Are we? Not today.
Why not today? Because you're relying on... We're all here trusting you believe what you're saying.
Well...
Why should we believe you?
The Labour Party have had 130 years. The Tories have had 200 years. I've been back in this for 16 months. Give me a little bit more time.
The big figures out today on migration. Have you seen them? They've revised up the 2023 ONS figures from 906,000 to 944,000, but they've cut the figure for last year in 2024 from 431,000 to 345,000. The Boris wave is subsiding, isn't it? You're losing the argument here.
Well, Boris isn't there. I mean, you could argue that. Look, if you actually look historically at net migration into Britain from the late 1940s right up until the end of the 1990s, you're averaging net migration of about 30,000 a year. Some years, of course, even lower than that. So even if the 345,000 figure is true, it is still 10 times historically what we were able to absorb for decade after decade. It's still a massive number.
What we can't get from Labour is what they would cut the small boats crossings to. They won't give us numbers. Will you end them within a few months of becoming Prime Minister?
Yeah, just like Tony Abbott did. Tony Abbott...
You will do that?
Tony Abbott was elected in Australia. He said, vote for me, I will stop the boats. And guess what? He did.
And how do you do that? How do you tow them to France? They won't accept them. You'll be invading French waters with UK warships. Well, back to Agincourt.
There's a couple of very, very basic things you have to do. Number one, you say, and you pass a law that nobody that comes via this route will ever be given refugee status. Number two, you are not free to walk the streets. You will be detained. As simple as that. And number three, you will be deported. And it's a really funny thing. I'm told, well, of course we can't send people back to Afghanistan. Well, you know what? The Germans are sending planes to Afghanistan every single week. So all of this is about political will. All of this is not being afraid in the short term of being condemned by some international courts and communities.
How can we judge your record in local government so far? There are question marks about Kent, for example, your local council, of course, as a Kent MP. Why do we think you can do better against the so-called inertia of the blob?
Well, 2 points to make. Firstly, we've only been there for a very short period of time. Secondly, you're placing a level of scrutiny on us that you never bothered to do with Liberal Democrats, Conservatives or Labour.
Because you're untried, you're untested. They've been around for a while.
Oh, they've been tested, all right, don't worry about that. And they've both failed completely. And that's why people want something fresh, they want something that is new, and they want something that's actually got a coherent vision of where it wants to get to. Will we be perfect? Of course we won't. Are we heading in the right direction? You betcha.
Nigel Farage, thank you for joining us today on GB News. Thank you.
Wow, that was Nigel Farage speaking to Christopher Hope. I like this line. We said, I'm in politics to do something, not to be someone.
It's very interesting, isn't it? Well, let's get the reaction now from a Labour MP for Kettering, Rosie Writing. Rosie, good afternoon to you. Hopefully you got to hear at least some of the interview there with Nigel Farage. Did you ever see a world where the leader of Reform UK is considering, from what I heard, voting with the Labour government on this issue? But of course, a big caveat to that, and in terms of the amendments which may come through.
Everyone has known that the asylum process has not been working. I hear it from my constituents all the time. In fact, it's probably one of the top issues that's raised with me, both in my inbox and on the doors. So I think if as a Labour government is addressing those issues, as we said we were going to in our manifesto, it's not surprising to me that he would want to support that, as I think he should. I think things like this should be supported cross-party, as there is an understanding across the board that this needs to be fixed. We need to have a fair and transparent system for people coming in to our country. But what I don't agree with what Nigel Farage just said is that this is something about us. We're doing this because he has pushed us to. This is not about that. This is about a Labour government fixing the crisis that is in front of us that we inherited. It's our moral obligation to do that for the people who work incredibly hard in this country and want a country that works for them.
OK, so Rosie, you're not... Yeah.
So do you agree with Shabana Mahmood then and her plans, and will you vote for the plans that she puts forward?
Yeah, I support Shabana in her statement yesterday and what she's laid out in fixing this absolute mess that we've inherited. I think people have waited to hear this for quite a long time.
But one of the things she said was about confiscating jewellery if it's up to the value they've got, you know.
No, I think she categorically said yesterday and made really clear that we will not be removing jewellery. There's talk about assets. I think there was a story came out about an individual who had an Audi and was on welfare. That isn't fair. That's not what we want. But jewellery is very separate. And we've categorically said, and I'm glad you asked me this actually, because I think it's important to clarify that we will not be removing people's jewellery on the border.
What if they've got a Rolex?
Well, like a jewellery holds sentimental value for a lot of people, and we've said assets, yes. I mean, British people their assets are looked at when it comes to welfare, so it's right that we look at that. But jewellery can be quite sentimental and personal, and we've said that we won't be doing that.
Rosie, one of the concerns for the government is backbench Labour MPs. And as you say yourself, you're going to be supporting government on this, and yet 20 so far have gone on the record to say they will not be supporting this, which led to Kemi Badenoch, for example, yesterday saying that she would be willing to offer cross-party support. What's your message to those Labour MPs who are going to oppose the government here?
Well, I hear rhetoric, I mean, from the Green Party and individuals kind of pretending this issue doesn't exist. And this isn't about party politics. The British people can see that there is an issue here. And like I said earlier, it's our moral obligation as a party in government not just to walk by issues and pretend they're not there, even though sometimes that would be the easier thing to do, but address them head on. And this is something that needs to be addressed. Like I said, it's one of the top issues that my constituents want us to take action on. And I'm pleased to see that we're doing that. But when it comes to Kemi supporting us and her kind of rhetoric from the dispatch box yesterday, it's quite shocking to me because they take absolutely no responsibility that the mess that we're in is partly because of their open borders policy and the number of hotels that the taxpayer fitted the bill for across the country.
Well, to be fair, your Smash the Gangs hasn't done anything. In fact, we've got more people coming in. And you guys dipped Rwanda, which you're now probably needing a third place, or return hubs, as you're calling them. But just on the matter of Sir Keir Starmer, do you think he'll make it till the end of this Parliament? A lot of people are saying, a lot of the MPs are saying that they don't want him there. Do you want him there?
What people in Kettering elected me to do, and what the people of the country elected the government to do, is to get on with the day-to-day issues of fixing this country and making it work better for the ordinary people. And I think of those people every single day when I come into Parliament. I think people want us to focus on that, and that is being done by Keir Starmer's leadership.
So that's a yes then?
Yeah.
OK, Labour MP Rosie Whiting, thank you very much for joining us.
All right, joining us now is the journalist Ross Clark. Ross, welcome to the programme. So what are your thoughts then on this? Nigel Farage is saying he's going to listen to see whether these policies are actually going to work, but we all know that with the ECHR as it is and having to abide by it, that doesn't sound like any of them it will work. So that sounds to me like Nigel probably won't support this.
Well, he clearly, from what he said, he's sort of holding back. He hasn't made his mind up yet whether Reform MPs will support the measures. I think one thing that probably in his mind is if Reform come out in favour, will that make it even more poisonous for some Labour backbenchers to support, make it even harder for Shabana Mahmood to get her measures through the House? And because there, as we discovered in the last day, there's a very large group of Labour MPs who will never accept any kind of measure to restrict illegal migration. In their minds, no illegal migrant ever cheated the asylum system. No illegal migrant ever came here to commit terrorist or criminal offences. They're all desperate people, and denying them so much as a four-star hotel and room service, well, that's tantamount to fascism. That seems to be how they think. And certainly it's going to be part of Nigel Farage's calculation. Well, he might approve of these measures. He might want them to, the government to get them through the House. But if he actually orders his MPs to support the government on this, then there's probably, maybe another 20, 30 Labour MPs will say, oh, no, I'm not going to march through the lobbies with Reform. I'm going to oppose these policies.
Well, Ross, just very briefly, what do you make of the allegation that Sir Keir Starmer and his government have made a deliberate rightward shift to try and counteract the rise of Reform UK here, who clearly are leading in the polls, and Labour are slumping?
Well, you call it a rightward shift if you like, but what the government's simply doing is what it's employed to do, which is do with what the people want. It is elected government, and there clearly is very high public concern over illegal migration in particular. And, if you want to remain the government, well, you've got to take that into account. You can't just sort of, plough some ideological furrow, regardless of public opinion. So, it's those Labour opponents of this, these measures which are, sort of detached from political reality, really. And, the government is simply reacting to public demand. There is a large body of the public who think otherwise, but they're not in the majority. The Green Party are picking them up, but it's
they've ploughed through a lot of the stuff that we don't want them to do anyway and taken no notice of us at all. Ross Clark, thank you very much. He's a journalist.
Thank you. Now, time for the Great British Giveaway, and it's your chance. Just 2 weeks left to grab those goodies. Christmas on us, 40 grand in cash, shopping vouchers, and a GB News goodie bag. Here's all the details.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash, so you can have a brilliant new year. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, the decorations, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. And the best news? You'll get it all in time for the big day. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 8th of December. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. Right, 25 minutes now after 2 o'clock. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yeah, including MPs and parliamentarians. They've been warned of new attempts to spy on them by China.
All of that and much more. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, we start this hour, or even halfway through this hour even, with some breaking news. MPs and parliamentarians have been warned of new attempts to spy on them by China.
And we are joined in the studio by GB News' Home and Security Editor, Mark White. Mark, what is the latest on this story?
Well, we have heard from the Security Minister, Dan Jarvis. We'll hear from him in a second, but he warned about this increased activity from the Chinese state and said such state action would not be tolerated by the UK government. Now, we were alerted to this when news came out that letters had been circulated to the parliamentary estate, MPs, Lords and their staff, warning of increased activity by the Ministry of State Security, intelligence agents acting on their behalf, often using what look like bona fide recruitment agencies, headhunters and alike to approach those working within Parliament to try and cultivate relationships with a view, obviously, to getting, sensitive and potentially secret information for the Chinese state. Let's listen to what Dan Jarvis told Parliament about an hour ago.
Our intelligence agencies have warned that China
is attempting to recruit and cultivate individuals with access to sensitive information about Parliament and the UK government. MI5 have stated that this activity is being carried out by a group of Chinese intelligence officers, often masked through the use of cover companies or external headhunters.
So clearly some real concern there from the parliamentary authorities, from the government, to what is happening with regard to China. It's not new that there are these state actors out there. MI5 has been warning for some time of the increasing caseload that MI5 agents are having to deal with in dealing with state actors. The main threats come from Russia, China and Iran. All are involved in not just gathering information, but certainly with regard to Russia and Iran, it also involved in activities that could potentially be harmful to people around the country. We know that there have been state actors linked to Russia that have been convicted for carrying out arson attacks on Ukraine-linked premises in London.
But what kind of information are they looking for? I mean, because I've got to be honest, the politicians these days have not really covered themselves in glory. A lot of them seem quite incompetent. It'd probably be easy to get information out of them. What kind of things would they be looking for?
Well, I mean, all sorts. Who knows what they might be? You know, someone that could be on any kind of a committee, an intelligence committee, the ministry, royal committee, any of these things where they get or are privy to sort of sensitive, almost insider information on certain things that come across their desk all the time would be of interest to any potential state actor. Anything that gives them a little bit of an insight into something that they wouldn't necessarily get at any other time. That's why, you know, you've got that kind of statecraft going on, and Britain does it as well. The Americans do it. We're all up to it, but we don't like it up us.
Yes, quite, exactly, Mark. Quite.
Don't like it up them.
No, we certainly don't. I was going to ask Mark who is going to be most vulnerable to this kind of, you know, states acting on behalf of the Chinese state.
Well, anybody potentially that has some influence, that gets information that may be of a sensitive nature, then yes, potentially any of them could be, you know, and that's not just MPs, not just lords, but any of the staff that work for them, any people that interact very regularly with those individuals and might be privy to insider knowledge as well. So they can all be vulnerable to this.
Well, it's just, you just need to hang out and wait for them to send an email of people who are meant to be safe by accident, like the Afghan data leak. I mean, you know, some of them, honestly. Mark White, thank you very much.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, that was Mark White, Home and Security Editor.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, a BBC legend has stopped paying his licence fee in protest at what he says is the extreme bias at the broadcaster. We'll speak to him next.
All of that and much more after your latest news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good afternoon to you. 2:33. The Home Secretary is standing firm on one of the toughest asylum shake-ups in decades. Shabana Mahmood plans to bring 20-year waits for residency into force, faster removals, visa bans and an end to guaranteed support. Critics, though, call it dystopian, with Nigel Farage claiming Labour is copying Reform UK. Meanwhile, a political storm is swirling around the Chancellor's next budget. Rachel Reeves is facing fire from Reform and the Tories, accused of plotting stealth tax rises to fill a £22 billion gap. Labour says the Conservatives have barefaced cheek after crashing the economy, but Kemi Badenoch says Sir Keir Starmer is the one that needs a reality check. MI5 has issued an urgent China espionage alert. Parliament's been warned that Chinese intelligence is using professional headhunters on LinkedIn to target MPs and their staff. A security briefing names 2 individuals accused of large-scale outreach on behalf of Beijing. MPs are being told the activity is targeted and widespread. UK's migration picture has been sharply rewritten. New ONS figures show the peak hit 944,000, higher than first reported, before plunging to 345,000 at the end of 2004. Officials say a new system has given data the clearest picture yet of who's coming in and who's leaving. A major group of UK brands, including StubHub and AA Driving School, are among those under investigation for misleading online pricing. The CMA has also warned 100 others to clean up their tactics, saying the price shoppers see should be the price they pay. Those are the headlines. That's it from me for this afternoon. Tatiana Sanchez will have a full update at 3.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Hello again, this is your GB News weather forecast coming to you from the Met Office. The cold thing continues for the next few days, but with that there will be some rain around and also, unsurprisingly, a bit of snow and a bit of ice. There's an area of low pressure currently making its way southwards across Scotland into England as well, and it's this that's the driving force for outbreaks of rain. Many places likely to see some wet weather at times through today, albeit across the far southeast of England, staying largely dry through daylight hours at least. With that rain and the cold air, yes, there will be some sleet and snow around, perhaps to lower levels over parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, it just looks like it will be over higher ground. Temperatures are on the low side, markedly lower than they have been recently, near normal towards the south, a few degrees below across northern parts. As we go into this evening, still more snow likely across the Highlands of Scotland and any modest higher ground over northern and eastern parts of Scotland in particular. Some showers piling into the north and the west of Scotland, and some of these could be falling as sleet, maybe a bit of hail mixed in. A few showers across parts of Northern Ireland and showery bursts of rain across much of England and Wales as well. Some of these could be a little bit on the heavy side, and there could be some winteriness, some sleet, some snow over modest high ground as well. As we go through the night, the showery rain, sleet and hill snow will push its way southwards and eventually start to clear away, but it is looking a bit wet at times across some central southern areas, with drier, clearer weather developing across parts of Scotland in particular, and where we get those clear skies, temperatures plummeting, widely falling below freezing. Rural spots could get into negative double figures. So tomorrow gets off to a bit of a wet start across some southeastern parts, but that rain clears away, and then there's actually a lot of fine sunny weather to be had. That being said, areas exposed to that brisk northerly Arctic air will see more showers, which could be wintry across parts of northern Scotland and also down the east and the west of the UK. Temperatures, if anything, lower than today.
Thank you, Britain, for helping us reach 8 million followers across social media. Thank you for making us a part of your daily life.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Commuters on the M8 westbound face delays due to a road traffic incident between junctions 27 and 28. The M48 is restricting heavy goods vehicles over 7.5 tonnes until further notice. Disruption impacts the A14 westbound entry slip at junction 37, Newmarket West, due to a broken down vehicle. In Surrey, the M23 northbound has a lane closed between junction 9 and junction 8 because of another stalled vehicle. And on the trains, passengers travelling with cross-country between Cambridge and Stansted Airport, and on the Elizabeth line between London Paddington and Heathrow terminals or Reading should anticipate delays. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. BBC legend Jeff Banks said he stopped paying his licence fee in protest what he says is the extreme bias of the broadcaster.
Yes, Jeff, who presented the clothes show for 14 years, says he had 5 letters warning him he could be fined. He's accused TV licensing of harassment.
Well, I'm very pleased to say that former BBC presenter and businessman Jeff Banks joins us this afternoon. Jeff, so good to see you. Your piece on X was quite sensational. Can you tell people what you said? Because some people, X went down a little while ago. Some people may not have seen it. Can you give us a summary of what you said?
Yes, last August, I got a letter saying that I hadn't got a BBC licence, And I wrote back and I said, I've not watched BBC television for a couple of years now. I don't listen to BBC radio, and therefore I don't want a licence, and I'm not prepared to pay for one. I then got quite a reasonable letter back acknowledging that, to say that it had been noted that my premises no longer required a BBC licence. Then about a month after that, I started getting the first of a threatening letter that I didn't have a licence, and that if I continued without one, I possibly could actually face a fine of £1,000. Then I got another one, and then another one. And then finally last week, I got the fifth, which actually not only was threatening the fine of £1,000, but actually saying I was now on a list that meant an inspector would be likely to actually call on me. And at that point, I felt that that was harassment. So I then wrote back to the BBC and said that you're now, in my opinion, harassing me. Either you stop doing that and desist, or I'll have no alternative to actually put it in the hands of my lawyers and they can actually fight the battle. So that's kind of where we are at the moment. And the reason I've done that, and the reason I kind of went online, is that I'm quite robust in stuff like this. I'm not a shy, shrinking violet. But if I was maybe some person living alone, you know, maybe an old age pensioner, start getting barraged with letters like this, threatening them with a fine, threatening them that somebody is going to come knocking at their door, I think they could be quite upset by it. And
so, Jeff,
why did
you decide to stop paying the licence fee in the first place and stop watching BBC television and listen to the radio?
Frankly, I'm completely disenchanted with the BBC. I don't think it any longer represents what Lord Reith set up in 1927. I think it's wholly biased. I think it's become very left-wing. I think it's riddled with scandals. I find it quite amazing that it employs 20,000 people. And 20,000 people, that's a lot of staff when I consider what the output of it is, the quality of it. And I actually don't think it represents what I want to buy. And I'm currently speaking to you from China at the moment. And I've been talking to people out here that historically used to listen to the World Service, businessmen that I've been dealing with while I'm here in China, and they don't listen anymore because they actually don't consider that the BBC World Service is the benchmark of authority that it used to be.
Do you think, Jeff, that there is a place for the BBC, but not in the way it's set up? So if it was some other service, some community, more community-based, going back to its roots, really, would you be prepared to pay some sort of fee towards it if it scaled down and became that?
Well, I think we're living in a different world these days. You know, back, you know, when I was like a teenager, there were 4 TV channels. Now, the media is actually enormous, the variety that people can actually access. And it's a very commercial world. The BBC seem to think that they've got a kind of bubble around them that protects them from the commercial world. So my feeling is that if you want to exist in this day and age, we should actually be defunding the BBC. If they actually want to become a commercial organisation, take advertising, stand on their own 2 feet, compete with Sky, compete with Netflix, compete with all the other sport channels, Eurosport, great. But to actually think that they can continue with this bubble and that we, as taxpayers, via the government, have to fund it, I think they're living in cloud cuckoo land. I think those days are over.
Jeff, the former, well, the head of news at the BBC who's just resigned, Deborah Turness, she said when she was doorstepped outside New Broadcasting House that she insists and defends BBC journalism, saying it's impartial, saying she defends the impartial journalism of the people who she, you know, was head of. What do you make of her comments?
I think she needs to ask Donald Trump that question. I mean, I think that to me was the last straw. It was so flagrant, you know, by Panorama, the peculiarity of it is, which was another question I asked myself, is there they are, they're employing 20,000 people, and yet in that instance, they actually outsource that programme. So even with 20,000 people, they can't make what is supposedly their anchor programme. One, they clearly absolutely doctored the content of it and spliced things together to make it what it was. And then, to add matters worse, it then comes out that Newsnight, a couple of years before, had done exactly the same thing. And one of the people that was appearing on Newsnight actually called them out on it and said, you've actually spliced this together and it's inaccurate. So I question everything now that they do, what the validity of it is. You know, you actually make these kind of inverted commas mistakes a couple of times, and you actually think, what the hell else is going on? So
Well, exactly.
that's one of the reasons I can't be bothered anymore. I don't listen.
Well, thank you so much for saying that, Jeff Banks. I know a lot of people will be listening and agreeing with you, but there are others who will say, but we want a BBC. But the thing is, Jeff, the bottom line is, if they were to enter the commercial market as they are, they would wipe the floor with everyone because they've got everything. They need to be scaled back. We have to leave it there, Jeff Banks. Really good to talk to you. Thank you very much for joining us.
And just to say, the BBC chairman has apologised to President Trump, and in a letter to staff yesterday, he said no basis for defamation case, and we are determined to fight this for legal disputes with Donald Trump and the BBC.
All right, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
It's going to be an unsettled week across eastern parts of the Mediterranean with intense thundery rain by the weekend. Further west, it's drier, but there will be some rain around northern coastal parts of Spain, also pushing into parts of Portugal and West Spain as well. Also some rain across southern Italy, but it's further east affecting Greece, Albania, Croatia and other nearby nations. This is where we're going to have the heaviest, most thundery rain, particularly as we go Friday and into Saturday. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Well, lots more coming up on today's show, including more disappointment for Birmingham residents as union chiefs have warned that rubbish could continue rotting in the streets for months.
Yes, all that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. 50 minutes after 2 o'clock, and more disappointment in Birmingham. Residents, because unfortunately, as union chiefs have warned, that rubbish could continue rotting in the streets for months after more workers have voted to join the industrial action.
Yeah, agency workers employed by Job and Talent are now joining the dispute for the first time, with many citing a culture of bullying and intimidation.
Yeah, with workers voting to extend the already month-long strike, the union says that bins could go uncollected beyond the local elections in May next year.
Well, we are joined now by local residents in Birmingham, John Gilmore. John, good afternoon to you. I feel like I'm tearing my hair out on your behalf here, because whatever disputes are going on behind the scenes between the council and the agency staff, at the end of the day, it's residents like you, John, who are suffering.
Good afternoon to you, Cameron. Well, absolutely, you've hit the nail on the head there. The problems have been going on for the majority of the year. There's been no recycling, and I don't know whether you can see behind me, I am in an area of Small Heath in Birmingham, and you can see the rubbish is piled up, and there are still many, many rats around the area of Birmingham, I've been told. I've actually seen one in my garden. But you do, as you say, you do ask yourself, when is this going to get resolved? And I think the Labour Council here in Birmingham really do forget that they are providing a service to the residents that they are paying for, and they need to resolve this urgently.
So with the rubbish, can you take it down to the tip? So is that the idea? The tip is still open. Unfortunately, if you've got a car, you're the ones that have to take it to the tip.
You can take it to the tip, Nana, absolutely. I think one of the issues there is that you have to make an appointment, and there needs to be plenty of slots online. You used to be, I mean, it's a few years ago now, you used to be able to just go to a refuge tip whenever it was convenient for you to dispose of rubbish. So I think the fact that you have to do this, you know, make an appointment slot online, put your car registration number in, it may be just another thing that people just think it's just hassle to do it. But I think one of the issues as well is that the council have left rubbish and let the city get into such a terrible state that people have thought, well, if you don't care as a council, then why should we? And that's one of the problems as well, with people disposing of things that they shouldn't be in the street as well. I mean, behind me is a mattress in white, and obviously that shouldn't have been left here, but this is the culture that it creates. If you have a council that don't resolve, you know, show they don't care, or they don't resolve things. I mean, I actually had a letter come through my door at home, and it was saying please support the bin workers. And they were saying that they want to get it resolved, but the commissioners and the council were refusing to even sit round the table.
John,
and obviously,
John, we've got to leave it there because we're running out of time, but we get the picture. It sounds like an absolute nightmare. John Gilmore, thank you so much. He's a local resident in Birmingham.
It certainly is. I'm so sorry. And a spokesperson for Birmingham City Council said, while we are disappointed the dispute has not been resolved as Unite rejects all our offers, we're continuing to make regular waste collections and our contingency plans are working. See you after the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good afternoon to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Things are set to turn even colder as we go through the next couple of days, and for many, there is the risk of some snow and some ice. Low pressure is pushing its way southwards across the country at the moment, and it's this that's bringing some outbreaks of rain and also some sleet and snow, particularly over higher ground over parts of England, but across parts of Scotland we do actually have some snow to lower levels, could be settling in a few places, and like I say, over the higher ground we could see several centimetres building up. The showery rain, sleet and snow does filter its way a little bit further southwards as we go overnight, so into some parts of central southern England, but really the snow here confined to the highest ground. Clearer skies across parts of Scotland, allowing temperatures to plummet. It is going to be a very cold night, quite widely some frost and some icy patches for us to watch out for. We have a northerly wind, Arctic air coming down from the north, so as we go into tomorrow, plenty of showers falling as a mixture of rain, sleet and snow piling into northern parts of Scotland, but also some western and eastern fringes too. Also some wintry showers across Northern Ireland through the morning. Watch out for icy stretches here. Down the eastern side of England there will be some wintry showers, and also in the southeast the hangback of some of that showery rain, sleet and hill snow perhaps from earlier on in the night. Through the day a lot of that rain, sleet and hill snow in the southeast will clear away, and actually many places having some fine dry sunny weather, but in those places exposed to that northerly wind will continue with those wintry showers, even some feeding into the far southwest of Wales and maybe into parts of Cornwall too. Temperatures are going to be on the low side, a little bit lower than today for many places. It's going to feel cold, especially in those brisk northerly winds. A similar story as we go through the end of the day tomorrow. More showers in areas exposed to that northerly wind, and they are going to be quite readily falling as sleet or snow over higher ground. A similar story on Thursday, most places fine, but some showers near the coast, and then rain arriving later Friday.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your Christmas this year paid for by us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Feet earlier this year as part of the first group to trek the same route as Lawrence of Arabia.
A former Special Forces officer, Howard Leedham, followed in Lawrence's footsteps across Saudi Arabia and Jordan in a 25-day journey. And I'm very happy to say he joins us now. Howard, thank you very much for coming to see us.
Thank you for having me on.
Now, talk us about what you're putting on, having completed that remarkable trek.
Well, we did the trek in January and February, and I was odd enough to lead a team of Special Forces Club members to do the entire route that Lawrence did in 1917. 685 miles, 1,100 kilometres, took us 25 days. We started off with 5 riders, 4 riders made it, and the last 9 days we spent in Jordan. And one of the things that